3, 2, 1. Happy St. Patty's Day, comic book fans. You're on a new comic book day hangout with me, your host, Ash, also known as Ash on Comics. And tonight, I got my buddies. Where are they? I got my buddies Joe Corallo, Skip and Tosh, and Zach of many last names are all joining me. How you guys doing? Joe, we'll give you the opportunity to say hello first tonight because you're a new guest. Thanks for being here. What's going on?
No problem. No, not much. Just enjoying St. Patrick's Day. Called my Irish grandmother earlier today to wish her a happy St. Patrick's Day. She's doing well, so it's been all right, you know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And Zach, how are you doing? This is you're kind of becoming a regular. Welcome.
I know. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, been going pretty good. Having a good. I just found out 5 minutes ago it was St. Patrick's Day. I thought I lived all day yesterday thinking it was. So I had all of my libations yesterday. So today I'm hydrating. I have some ice cold water here in front of me. So I'm just gonna pretend it's a rum and coke.
Nothing says St. Patrick's Day like an ice cold water. I gotta admit, that's. You could put maybe put a little green food coloring in it, just a little drop.
There you go.
There
you go.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And Skip and Tosh, my main man, my partner in crime. Last but certainly not least, thanks you for being here with me today on Wednesday. And how you doing?
Nobody pinched me, and I'm hitting on the green lights heading home, so it must be St. Patrick's Day.
Ah, nice. There's Skip streaming from the car, making it happen.
That commitment, though.
Serious commitment. Speaking of commitment, Nalo was supposed to be here, and he's gonna be. Oh, but speak of the devil, and he shall appear. I promise you, I did not plan that, Nalo. How you doing on this St. Patty's Day?
I'm doing great. How about you guys? Sorry for the delay, being a little bit late.
Hey, no, you kind of showed up like almost perfectly. It was actually. I couldn't have planned that. That was great. I am drinking tonight. This is a hangout stream, so beverages are welcome, not required. But you guys all do you. I don't have any green beer, but I have beer in a green can, so I'm drinking some Heineken. And I thought, what a St. Patty's Day. I don't know why this makes me think of St. Patty's Day, but I'm drinking a Bloody Mary.
All right.
I haven't had one of these in a long time, and well, I can't say that long because I have the Bloody Mary mix, obviously. But it's been probably a month since I had one, so there you go.
There you go.
Now I'm drinking one. What do you guys? Anyone drinking anything interesting?
I'm not drinking anything interesting, but to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I had some mint chocolate chip ice cream earlier.
Oh,
Yeah.
I am an ice cream freak. In fact, I need to not buy ice cream because I can't control myself. I'll be like a crack addict.
Wow,
Next
learning a lot about Ash tonight.
You will find me in some sort of house selling my body to get ice cream. So
It's escalated really fast, but
so I just find, what? If I don't buy it, I can't touch it. Or if I do buy it, I can only buy like a pint. Because if I buy it by the half gallon, it's dangerous. What about anyone else? St. Patty's Day.
Can we start a GoFundMe for some ice cream so Ash don't have to sell his body off?
Oh man, Skip's already enabling me.
oh no,
There's gonna have an intervention, and I'm gonna find myself in a rehab. Well, while you guys are thinking about having a beverage on St. Patty's Day, I'm gonna see what the chat's doing. So we got Snatch Face the Fool here, Dragon Majesty, Dragon Ball Talk says no music, he's out. Some people are hard to please. Let's see. Zach has. You say you got green arrow on your shirt, so I guess that counts for green. I'm not wearing any green today. I guess I'm not. And I'm wearing a T-shirt from my favorite Mexican food place, Sombrero Mexican Food here in San Diego. So I'm really like not living up the cultural holidayness.
Tisk.
I'm not Irish at all. Computer Robots is in the house.
You can always watch the Beer Baron episode of The Simpsons to celebrate later.
Oh yeah, I like the holiday episodes of Simpsons. I haven't watched them in over a decade though. I should binge them sometime. Hi Ash, I know that you're already tired of me asking this, but it's a monthly check on the state. So is California still a communist turned to fascist state, or have they changed their ways? Well, funny you should ask. Ever since our boy Gavin Newsom received enough signatures to be recalled, a lot of things are changing. It's like magic. It's like all of a sudden restaurants are opening and all sorts of lockdowns are being repeated. I think, it's like coincidence maybe? I don't know. But yeah, we're still very much leftist out here. It's just, that's the way of California. They're convinced that we need the government to tell us how to live. Wow, Joe going all out with the mint chocolate chip.
True.
Ryuk224 has joined us. He says, anyone wasted yet, or is this a clean stream?
Give us time.
It's not a clean stream. It's a we accept all comers stream. If you decide to drink till you pass out, then we're not going to judge. And if you decide that water is your beverage of choice, then you're probably the smart person in the room. Let's see. Dragon says, don't think anyone's drunk yet. I'm too old to get drunk. It's just not worth the payoff. There needs to be a serious celebration going on for me to get inebriated these days.
If you wanted a drinker on the stream, you should have got Perch and told him to dress up like Pooh.
Yeah, I would love to have Perch on the stream, but that man is so busy. I don't know how he finds time to make so many videos and have a job and have a family and find hours in the day to sleep. He amazes me. I'm thinking he probably has clones.
Those are always the people that do that, though. You know, like Charles Soule, for example. He's a lawyer on top of doing comics, on top of having a family, and he's also in a band.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Dang.
And you know how you know someone's insane? He's one of those like morning runner guys.
Oh yeah.
Like he'll do that thing where he's like, "Oh, it's 5 a.m. I'm going to go for a run," like a psycho.
Right. Oh my god.
If y'all wanted to see this, y'all could have just asked me. Obviously, I know how to do it. I'm obviously doing the stream from the car. How many Perch car videos have y'all heard? Hello. I know the secrets. Perch tells me things.
He does. Yeah. He does a lot of car videos. In fact, I've been wanting to talk to Perch about his audio setup in his car because he's recognized it. He talks on his streams and he's always apologized. Oh, sorry for my mic and this and that. And I'm like, Perch, you could do better, man. You don't need
I think it's just his iPhone on speakerphone.
I think so. And I'm like, I just need to get you, I need to introduce you to this thing called a lapel mic, and it will change your life for streaming. It'll make it so much easier. But like I said, he's a busy guy. It's hard to find time to talk to him. But
yeah, no, and last stream he did, I was on that last Friday, and I drank Four Loko for that, so I'm good for a little bit.
For real?
Oh yeah. I just went all in on the sleaze. I went to a 7-Eleven and I was just like, I'm gonna get a peach Four Loko, and you know what? I'm gonna get a couple of those taquitos too, because fuck me, right?
Oh yeah, dude, those taquitos. What do they call them? They don't call them taquitos, do they? They call them something.
I'm sure it's some like weird 7-Eleven thing they call
those
them.
things
But
are
yeah,
addicting.
you know what I'm talking about.
They have one that's like jalapeno and sour cream, and that's dangerous too, man. And then I'll go there. I go in there just to get like a big gulp. Usually, that's usually the only reason I go to 7-Eleven is to get a big gulp. But I go there and then I like see, because you have to walk by the rollers and you see them, and then it's like you get like if you buy like 3, you get them for like way cheaper than just buying one. So then you're like, oh yeah, I kind of want one, but I should buy 3 because it's like way cheap, and then you end up walking out with like 3 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
really.
like you could buy one for like $2 or 3 for like $3.
Right.
It's like,
It's like $2.79 for one or 3 for $3.
yeah.
Man, it's weird how I'm one of those people, when I see a deal, I feel like I gotta buy something. Like I want.
Mhm.
The other day, it was a couple days ago, 3/14 was Pie Day, and 7-Eleven was
Yeah.
doing pies, like for pie, like, and so they were selling large pizzas for $3.14.
Mhm.
And I'm like, 7-Eleven pizza isn't great pizza, but it's $3.14. I can get a whole pizza. And I was like,
There you go.
I almost drove down to 7-Eleven just to get one. And I'm like, what am I doing? Slap myself in the face. Shut up. Like, but it's that way. It's kind of like with comics, sometimes when you see a comic and it's in the dollar bin, you're like, I wasn't that interested before, but now it's really cheap. Or even better, if you're one of those lucky, fortunate souls to have a comic book store as a quarter bin, you just can't. I can't resist great deals.
There you go. Or you get every once in a while, like Comixology will do like a get all this stuff for free, and everyone just grabs whatever they can that's free and never reads it.
Oh, right. I have so many books like that, Joe. so many, especially when COVID hit. Like Marvel was giving away like trades. They're like, here, have this, like free trades. I was like, yeah, even if I don't want them, it's not like they take up room. Yeah. So yeah, I have like a couple trades of like Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America that I'm probably never gonna read, but I own them because Marvel was giving them away, and then Valiant was giving away like single issues, but they gave like over 100 of them. So I've got like every Valiant comic I have at least like one issue of.
Yeah, I have so many Valiant trades just because whenever you like go to like their office, when they used to have an office, they I've been there a few times and they just be like, take trades, take them. So they just have all these Valiant trades. I mean, I read them all, but that was because I was like, maybe I could write something. So I was going through some stuff there, and I still think I really wanted to do a hardcore reboot, but really lean into it being more of like a Doom Patrol meets The Good Place kind of thing. Because I think that would have been a really cool approach for a book like that. Or you go completely in the opposite direction and you lean really hard into like the 90s aesthetic, but also into like the unintentional homoeroticism of it. Like just these like big guys that have like hard just written on their shirts. Like that kind of thing. It's like it's one way or the other with that pitch,
Yeah, I could see that working. I'm actually surprised that we don't see more comics in that direction. Like, not that I'm necessarily looking for homoerotic comics, but I find a lot of times when they push the more comics to try to appeal to the LGBTQ crowd, they're just pushing the really overt, like they just want to put rainbows and neon signs that say gay, like.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any subtlety? Like, I know Zack Snyder's 300 really appealed to a lot of gay men, but it never was like trying that. It wasn't like that was stamping its brand. It was like, here's a movie.
Yeah.
It's going to appeal to lots of people for lots of different reasons. Like, why not go that approach? Why not just say, hey, here's this, and not have to brand it for you?
Yeah.
Which we'll be talking about a little bit later. Special comic that I think all of you might know what we're alluding to. That's
this makes me think too, though. Like, how like The Wizard of Oz became a big hit in the gay community. It just makes me wonder if like the guy who played like the Tin Man or something in that was just like, really? What? Did I miss something? Because it's like it's not like overt. It's not the kind of movie where you're like, of course this would appeal to that group in the time period it came out in.
right.
But yeah, so I do wonder if there were just people working on that movie being like, I do not understand what happened. Unlike something like Rocky Horror Picture Show, where you'd be kind of stupid if you didn't.
Right.
But funny story, the guy who played Rocky in that movie didn't quite grasp how this was going to be like perceived and like quit acting as a result of being in that movie, because he was just like, I didn't know what I was getting into, and this is too much for me.
Do you know, I've
yeah.
never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. I feel like it's one of my great, not shames, but like I feel like I should have by this time.
You can do it. I mean, one of my brothers was like 30 before he saw The Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
It happens, Sometimes you go a long time not seeing something, and then it's okay. You can do it.
All right. Well, it's New Comic Book Day. Did anyone get new comics? I'm gonna start with Nalo. We haven't got to hear much from Nalo yet. So, Nalo, did you get to go to the store? I heard you moved near a new one.
Not this week. There wasn't anything coming out this week I wanted to pick up, but I did start my first pull list. So hopefully in the next week, 2 weeks, or maybe at least once we get into April, I'll start to be able to physically go to a comic store once a week. So really looking excited to that.
All right. Well, that's the depressing. It's supposed to be new comic. We need excitement. I went to the wrong person. Zach, did you get to go to the comic book store today?
I did. I actually had a pretty nice day at the comic shop. I didn't go last week because there was nothing really out that I was pulling. So I went this week and picked up a good bit of stuff. Got some Marvel, got some DC. No indies out this week that were interesting to me. I did get Bendis's first Justice League issue, Justice League number 59. I picked that up. I have thoughts on it. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's I do think it's a little overpriced for what it is. I've been thinking in my head, it's like a bacon cheeseburger. I love a bacon cheeseburger. At the same time, I don't want to pay $20 for a bacon cheeseburger. It's same thing with his Justice League. It's not terrible, but the $5 price tag does seem a little bit high for it. But it's not bad so far for the first issue. But I got that. I picked up Catwoman, Nightwing. I got the Black Knight has a new miniseries out over at Marvel. Taskmaster, Iron Fist. So I got a good little haul of books. Also picked up a trade that was on sale. It was half off. It's JLA. It's a tie-in. I think it's more like an epilogue to Identity Crisis. And I really like the Identity Crisis story. I love a good mystery, and this is like a little follow-up to that. So I'm going to enjoy reading that later on.
All right. Very good. I'm trying to get a tweet out for this stream, and for the life of me, I cannot remember your Twitter handle.
Oh, I'm not on Twitter. They suspended me. I'm going over 3 weeks now on suspension. So.
Oh my gosh.
I know RDV was like, we can't talk to you on Twitter. I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
All right.
Get me through Facebook or get me through YouTube.
Well, yeah, someone's got to be. If it wouldn't be Twitter if someone wasn't, at least one of us wasn't suspended on it.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh,
I haven't had a headache in 3 weeks, so maybe there's some correlation there.
That's true. You're probably.
There you go.
Mental health is probably a lot better. What about? I know you're not really doing the main. I don't think you do the new comics right now, Joe. But did you pick up anything this week?
I tend to read a few each week or so. So far, the only one I read this week was Nightwing.
Tom Taylor, is that right?
It is Tom Taylor.
I've been debating picking it up.
Here's the thing with it. I appreciate it. I know some people like it a lot. And I'm going to preface this with I do like Tom Taylor, and I really did like his Suicide Squad run. I think there was a few things in it. Some of the jokes I don't think really land. Like, God, there was this bit in Suicide Squad where like Batman and Deadshot are like talking because so it stole like the Batmobile, and like Deadshot's like, I can call you an Uber, and I'm like, I hate everything about this whole interaction. But this comic, like with Nightwing, it wasn't terrible, but it's so deeply dull and uninspired. It's just very it's needlessly connected to everything because I don't know, do people care about uh spoilers on this first issue of a Nightwing comic that most of you probably aren't going to read?
Well, I don't know who in the audience might be reading it, so I would refrain from
Yeah.
doing spoilers in that sense because no one came here thinking this is a Nightwing stream. They're going to get spoiled, so
That's fair.
I
So,
would refrain.
Okay, I won't get into like big spoilers or anything like that. I'll talk about the first few pages. It's like a flashback to like Dick being a kid and like stopping a bully, and like Barbara Gordon's there, and the cops come, and then Gordon shows up, Jim Gordon, and it's just one of those situations where it's like, I don't fucking need Dick Grayson or Barbara hanging out as kids. I don't need that.
Huh.
It always just reminds me over and over again, and I use this example a lot, but it's finding out that Hermes built Bender. I don't need that. Like, I hate that stuff where it's just like, did you realize that everything else is a lot closer and less interesting than you thought?
Yeah, it makes the world smaller, kind of. It feels
Yeah.
like.
I mean, and to be fair, and I'm not a DC aficionado, so this is a part legitimate question. Didn't Dick and Barbara hang out as kids? I mean, at least older kids when he was Robin and.
Oh, sure, but this is when they're really young.
Oh,
school.
that's terrible.
Yeah, I think this was like right after Batman adopts him or takes him in, makes him his ward or whatever. I don't know how far along this is in his Robin days, but
yeah, it's before he's Robin. I guess technically he is Robin, but this is like teen Robin. This is before Barbara, I think, is really Batgirl. But
the reason I ask is because Chuck Dixon did a series, he did Robin year 1 and he did Batgirl year 1.
Yeah.
And he kind of tied them in together. Like,
yeah,
Robin and Bart, like their origins, they're not the same, but they're connected in the sense that they both kind of came into the Bat family kind of at the same time. And that's kind of how they got to know one another. So to me, that sort of stuff doesn't seem out of place, but obviously it's seeming out of place for you. So I'm trying to just get a handle on why that is.
It just seemed like the scene itself, how it was structured, especially not just because they were in school, but I'm going to say some stuff that might trigger you. So just
I like
you sitting down. So there's a caption about how the bully is a bad this like bully that Barbara is witnessing bully some kid with glasses is his dad is really rich, and he comes from privilege, and because he comes from privilege, he's a bad person. Just the way they're doing it, but it's done in a way where you're just like, Dick Grayson lives in a mansion, right? Like, I don't know if you know this, but his like adopted dad is like the wealthiest man in Gotham, more or less.
Right. One of the wealthiest men on the planet.
Like
Right.
this kid who comes from privilege is not even close to where Dick Grayson's coming. Like this kid's idea of privilege doesn't touch Dick Grayson's idea of privilege. This is then followed by Dick Grayson having like an internal monologue thing of like, yeah, I am tough. You got to be tough with a name like Dick, and you're just like, this is so stupid. And so you're trying to like push through that awful line of dialogue.
Yeah, that is terrible, actually.
It's really it's rough. And then there's the whole like Barbara comes off as like this snotty brat being like, I called the police, my dad, like this whole thing, and it's like, oh my god, why? It's a rough bit. Like it does get better from there. It's one of those things where you read that opening sequence and you're like, you didn't need to have any of this in here. You could have cut this whole scene out. The reason the scene is in there, and this isn't a spoiler. It would be weird if it wasn't, is when Dick Grayson eventually goes back to the mansion, Alfred's there. And the way Tom Taylor writes it is to like play up, tugging on your heartstrings because you're still supposed to cry every time Alfred's mentioned, even though he was brutally murdered a year ago. And one of the last times we saw Alfred was him as like a zombie in death metal. And it's like, what are you doing? Stop with this, like I don't need the forced emotional moment of, Dick Grayson coming back to the mansion just to have Alfred sort of be like, I'm very proud of you, Dick, and reader, you should know how proud I am because you should be crying right now because I'm Alfred and I'm dead. I'm not into that,
Yeah, that's Tom Taylor is very hit or miss for me. Mostly miss, but he has done some decent stuff at DC.
Yeah.
I like what little I've read of
Deceased.
Oh, dude, Deceased
yes,
is
Deceased,
freaking
but the one I'm trying to
awesome.
think of is the one he did before Injustice.
Injustice.
Oh,
Injustice
yeah.
was also good. Injustice was a better Civil War than Civil War, in my
Sure.
opinion.
Civil War's an interesting series because Civil War, I feel like, was designed with a lot of missing pieces to force you to buy tie-ins because if you read all 7 issues, it makes no sense.
Right.
And I cannot help but laugh every time I read Civil War. And the way they bury Goliath, it's just this gigantic man taking up like 40 grave plots, and they're all playing it straight. And it's just like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely, and you can tell when you're reading it, like it's supposed to be like this somber moment, but then there's giant cranes just lifting his body and dropping it into like this whole football field size plot, and it's like dark humor or something. Like it's weird. But you're right though, it does make you, because you do have to go out and buy all the tie-ins. You got to get the Spider-Man, you got to get the Thunderbolts, and all these different missing pieces.
Yeah.
To fill in the story, whereas Injustice didn't need that.
So well, Injustice was absolutely an out of continuity story.
True, it is an Elseworld story, and now granted, it's also a much longer comic than Civil War. Civil War was basically an event.
Right, but my point is, Injustice got the luxury of just focusing on its own thing. It didn't have to, because when you do in continuity, you do an event. Let's say Injustice was in continuity. You wouldn't be able to just have a Batman story. I guess you could, because Marvel does this all the time now. But once upon a time, it would have been inconceivable to just tell a Batman story, and it's like, wait, what's he doing? But he's over here in Injustice fighting Superman. What are you doing? Like, why is this Batman story not related? Like, today that they'll do that. It's like, oh, look, King in Black, Null's taken over the planet, but Thor is off doing something. Yeah, but he's also in King of Black. But he's off in the space fighting Galactus. But he's also in King of Black. Like, huh? I don't. I don't get it. But that's just the way of things. Now, we got a little bit sidetracked. We were talking about new comics that we got. I was trying to buy some time for Skip because I know he's on the road hauling illegal goods over state lines, but we won't talk about that. Skip, have you arrived back home yet, or in a spot? Or are you still on the road?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there he is.
Cool. Hold on here. Almost got
All right.
it. All right. I think I'm the only person on camera. What's up? Hey, everybody. What was the question again?
Oh, I was just saying I was buying time for you because I knew you were on the road. So now that you're back at headquarters, I was going to give you some time to be able to maybe answer. Did you hit up the store this week? Was there any new books you acquired that you want to talk about?
See, Ash, when you say new books, you mean newly published books. You don't mean books that are new to me. And you know me, and you know me by now, Ash. I don't care what the hell is coming out as long as I love it. So, to answer your question in true Skip form, yeah, I got some new books today. Everybody on stream can see this. Bam! Dreadstar, Jim Starlin, whole stack, babies.
Wow.
That's new to me.
Very
Wow.
nice.
All right. Do we have to keep going? Should we keep going? All right. This is this is technically new to me. Nalo, this could be new to you because I'm trying to get it to you because I know you're a fan. Bam! Scene of the crime.
Damn.
Ed Baker. Well, because Nalo, if you hang around long enough, you'll see that Skip is magic. Let's see what else we got going on. Okay, here's one that I had to add to my collection because I've been seeing it since I was a kid. We've all been seeing it since we were kids, or at least since we've been in the comics. Bam! What you know about that right there, Boy Wonder. For the people that are viewing it, it's Detective Comics number 38. The sensational character, the find of 1940, Robin, the Boy Wonder. Now, me, I'm a big Dick fan. You heard it right. So that's that one I'm really excited about. I remember back in the day when I was young, I grew my hair out long enough, and my mom was like, "You can get the S curl kit," and I was like, "Cool," because maybe if it's long enough, I can do 2 curls in the front of my face, and I'll finally have the Robin bangs. That never worked out. Let's just say that. Bam, Powers, number 1. This is actually not mine. This is for Jimmy, but I picked it up for him because y'all should know by now, if you're in the Thinking Critical server, I made a room over there for comic hauls and hunting. And if y'all are looking for something, you could throw your book that you're looking for in there, and everybody, when they go to the LCS, if they don't mind doing some digging, we can help each other find the books that we've been looking for and help each other complete our collections. So this one is for my good old friend, Comics Quirks with Jimmy, aka Jimbo, aka Jim. And let's see. Okay, this is one to make Ash happy because he wants a semi-current book, even though it did come out last week. Of course, Gwenom versus Carnage. So kind of new, Ash. There you go. I only bought this book because one of my friends has worked on it. You know me, I don't really buy modern stuff. Now this one is kind of, I don't want to say controversial in like the normal connotations, like negative connotations. This is controversial, but I saw this book in there. I personally am not a fan of this book, but I know a lot of people might be. And Ash, again, we've been talking about doing giveaways and stuff like this through our streams, primarily, of course, through the indie comic show, the unnamed indie comic show that you and I do. But I'm trying to spread the love and go further, man. Like your boy Skip is I'm trying to be like the Santa Claus of comics, or almost like the comic fairy. Like you're like, topics, Kurt, talk about topics. I'm like, I just want to talk about the books, man. Like we don't talk about the books enough, I feel. We talk a lot about the stuff around the books, but I don't feel like we talk about the books enough. So I would like to give this away, but I got to talk to Ash about how, because this is his chance. He's the head honcho. But I did find this in my local comic shop as well.
Look at that.
Wow.
So some Cyberfrog, OG Cyberfrog. You're right. So for people that are interested in this, I got to talk to Ash to find out if we can give it away and how. But anyway, that's oh wait, I'm not done. I'm not done. I have savers at like 3 different comic shops, and I almost forgot one of the. I didn't make it to one of them because at New Comic Day they close at 6 p.m. I'm like, what are you guys thinking? You close at 6 p.m. on New Comic Day? Do you not like money for selling comic books? What's
Seriously.
wrong with you?
Yeah, mine does that too. They close at 6 o'clock every day.
My store closes
they're
at 6
closed,
as well.
They're closed 2 days of the week. They're closed on Sundays and Mondays, and then the rest of the week they're open only until 6. So
We're gonna talk to these people. Eventually. Again, not a new one, but one that I was gonna get the other day, and then I talked to Wes a few days ago, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta get this book. It's not what you think. It's like different characters." And I'm like, "Cool," because I didn't want to buy an X-Men book. As much as I love Jonathan Hickman, I'm done. But I did grab the Peach Momoko Demon Days because I do like Peach Momoko art. And same thing, Nalo. You could have some Peach Momoko art coming your way. We'll talk about that more later. That's
Because
a whole nother topic.
There's two kinds of people in this world: fans of Peach Momoko, and people who lie about not being fans of Peach Momoko.
Thank you. See, Ash knows. This is why he is a successful YouTube comic community ambassador. Of course, I got Erratic because I mean, if you're not reading it, what the heck are you doing? And me not being a Spider-Man fan, I actually found something that's Spider-Man, that's Spidey. I was gonna say Spider EE, but no, that's Spidey or Spidey I don't know. That's Spidey that I can actually get down with. And again, another homie of mine works on this, so I got to support. Let's see. Okay, and then I did the thing that like you're not supposed to do because of, variant covers and all that stuff. But when it's indie books, I don't give a damn. Like I like to support indie creators because I feel like that's where the real stuff is happening anyway. I'm not really tripping off of DC and Marvel these days. So I'm a lover of tokusatsu and of course of the big monsters. So I grabbed me some Ultra Mega, all sorts of covers. I got the black and white one. Trad Moore on the covers, right? That's Trad Moore. I'm not tripping. Bam, some colors. So I got those, and then finally, this one is the biggest one for me today because, again, with me loving the books, like I do collect them, but I like to like touch my books and pull them out the case and like smell them and look at them, and I don't know. Sometimes like I lick them and I put them next to my cheek. I can like hear them talk to me. Y'all didn't hear that. That slipped out. But I finally did get my first slabbed book, and it is currently my favorite book, so it only makes sense. And I don't plan on getting much more of these until way like later. Maybe I'll grab a few just to display in my room, especially when I buy my house next year. But I did get me a 9.6 grade of Ice Cream Man, the pandemic, or it's the quarantine special. So got myself one of these, first slab book.
Nice.
Feels good, man. Feels good.
Very nice.
I don't know about this anymore. So.
That lasted for like a month.
Our comeback got plugged up by our backside, I think is what that's supposed to say, but it is what it is.
I think they meant their comeback would be a bigger controversy than their setback, because that makes sense. Like it's oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I don't own a single slab book. I should remedy that someday.
Maybe, but you don't even like to collect books, because I take pictures of books and send them to you that you like, and you're like, woot. I'm like, you respond to woot when I send you the Electra Saga from Frank Miller?
Oh, what am I supposed to say?
To say
Frank
skip.
Miller, so I thought you would say more.
Thank you.
I guess am I supposed to go on to like a monologue about?
Look, I saw some. What was it? I don't know if it was Daredevil. It was somebody else, but it was something that it was Ed Brubaker, but he was writing Daredevil, and I thought about taking some pictures to put it in the Discord because I know that Ash loves Brubaker. But now I know that if I come across those issues again, I'm just not going to do it because I don't want to waste it and get that same I'm with you, Skip. I'm with you.
Wow.
You don't want me to be like, woo, that's awesome. Like, I guess I don't know. I'm lost.
Does Ash do anything else we don't like we should talk about? Or?
You should. Let's get it out in the open. This is Ash.
Intervention stream.
Ash. I mean, I know this may come to a surprise for you guys, but I have seen Electra Saga before. I didn't realize I was supposed to jump through the roof. I mean, I'm lost.
Or maybe
I'm
you
very
say,
confused.
Skip, I already have that in my collection. Good looking out, bud. Or, hey, Skip, I don't have that in my collection. Let's work something out. I know you're supposed to be the comic fairy. Do your, like, let me help you. Let me help me help you help me help you.
So essentially, what Skip is doing, for you guys listening in, what Skip is doing is he's essentially sending the equivalent of dick pics in comic form. But there's no context. It's not like, hey, I picked this up at the store. It's a good price. Is this something you're looking out for? Like, there's no context. It's just a picture of a comic with no. I'm like,
hold on. Did y'all? Here's okay. Two things. Here's what's funny. One, when he sent me back Woot, I was like, damn, he didn't even get wet. Two, what other context do you need for a dick pic? When someone sends you a dick pic, like, do you need like a written invitation? Like, do you know what time it is? If you get one of those, you either respond or you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you say, yeah, I'm with it, or you don't. Like, I sent you a Frank Miller dick pic and you sent me back Whoop. If I mention Frank Miller on the stream, it's a 15-minute Ash monologue, okay, about how great he is and there's nothing better and Frank Miller, all this. And then, but if I send him a Frank Miller dick pic, Whoop.
well, I thought you were picking up the comic. I was just excited for you to get some Frank Miller. So I didn't know. I didn't know what the context was. I was like, this is cool. Like,
Ash behind closed doors.
It's tough, man.
Wow.
I'm just bad. I'm bad. I'm sorry, guys.
It's I feel like a lot of you probably aren't in the position of actually dealing with what to do if you do get dick pics, but
Joe is going to inform us. He is a pro about receiving
here's
dick
the thing.
pics, and
one of the best things you can do to make it awkward is if someone sends you a dick pic, you just respond with, "Oh."
Whatever you do, though, don't respond with woot. If someone sends you a dick pic, don't be like woot.
But
if y'all take nothing else away from the stream, that is the main takeaway. Let's wow, Ash learned a hard lesson tonight.
What about can I get a hell yeah? Is that acceptable?
Hell yeah.
Oh man, so I'm looking at it right now. Electra Saga. You're right. If you did bring it up on the stream, I would want to talk about it more. But it's tough when you're typing on Twitter and Discord and stuff, and you're just already feeling like you're not keeping up with responding to people. And if someone posts something, you're just like,
It's a little pork too.
Sounds like modern life's really stressful.
It is. It's tough. First world problems, man.
Can't get it up more. Performance issues.
Well, you get old, the things happen. I tell you.
Jeez.
Comic tile dysfunction.
Don't get old, folks. So this erratic book, it's good, I hear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No one's
top tier.
But no one's. Skip really hasn't talked to me about this book.
Because he was busy hunting for comics for you, man.
I know. I'm just okay. Look, I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm trying to open opportunity to have discussion. Should we be talking about this book?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because okay. So I'm gonna put it on my list to check this out because there's so many books. They need to get their proper highlight.
I'll say this, like all you need to do, Ash, or anybody who is not familiar with Erratic, hasn't been following along, I can't, I mean, I can hype it pretty good, but I don't know if I could hype it more than Perch and Wes. They both made two separate videos, and Wes made two videos himself on like how important he feels like Erratic is to the times that we live in the comic book industry and all that other stuff. And that's cool. Like I and like Perch kind of touched on some of the same things. I know he did at least one video me personally, away from like the statements and all that other stuff, just like a purely enjoyable book, like away from all the statements and all that stuff. All that stuff is fine, but I'm not here for statements. I'm here for comics. That's why I come here. It's a damn good comic, solid story, like and like the tropes, but the tropes done right and turned on their ear a little bit. I really appreciate what I guess it's Carrie Andrews and my homie Reber are doing in that book. It's great. It's great work. Great work.
Yeah, I think I did watch the Perch stream on that. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to gauge Perch because he's not, as much as I love the guy, he's not a really like in the trenches kind of person. And I think he'll be first to admit that he kind of fence sits, right? He's not the kind of guy that's going to make a video and be like, well, I guess he did this with Iron Man 2020. That's not entirely fair. He did make a video talking about how shit it was, but he's generally not that kind of person. Like his videos aren't like that. He doesn't get salty about stuff. He doesn't get out there and, but he did make a good video on that. So I'm going to check it out. And you said everyone's liking it. So no one said anything bad about it. I like capes. I've obviously admitted that a long time. So if there's good cape books out there, the reason I passed it up in the beginning is because I didn't like that AWA was going all miniseries all the time. And I'm like, please, I don't want another copycat of Marvel. Can you just launch a book? If Erratic had come out and it was like, this is our new ongoing series character, Erratic, I'd be like, let me give it a try. But not like, hey, it's going to be 5 issues. Oh, well, I just wait for the trade then. That's kind of how
Hey, Ash, did you notice DC finally moved Batman to a monthly? So are you happy now?
I would be if it was actually the Batman that I cared about, not the Infinite.
It's Tinian, no?
Well,
You know, like,
yes, I did pick up the most recent Batman book from Tinian. I haven't read it, so there is a possibility I might continue with the book. I very much want monthly books again, not these bi-weekly crap. But I'm not happy with Infinite Frontier. I mean, that's why I canceled my pull list, because, and this is something that I've talked about a lot in the past about continuity and why it's important and things like that. And people are like, well, just buy the books you like. And it's like, well, yeah, the problem is if your universe that you make is something I hate, you may have a book that I like, but it's existing in this world with other comics that I don't like, doing things that are tarnishing the book that I do like. And it's been a very big challenge for me buying Marvel books because of this. I got into Daredevil, was my first book to buy because Chip Zdarsky blew my socks off with Spider-Man Life Story. It is legitimately... It's legitimately the best Marvel comic I've read in 25 years. It's unbelievable. And I was like, okay, I've heard this Daredevil, which had only been it was like on issue 5, I think at the time, is really good. And then old partner of mine, Sergeant Bats, some of you guys may know him, sent me the first 3 issues digitally on Comixology. He's like, try these out. So I read those first 3 issues and I was like, wow, these are legitimately really good. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this book. And Daredevil has managed to stay mostly off to the side, doesn't get involved in the Marvel Universe too much. So I it's been okay to read. I got into Venom just because a lot of the hype, and I liked what Donny Cates was doing. And Venom was legitimately good, but it's been a challenge when it crosses over, like things like Absolute Carnage and King in Black, which are legitimately pretty good events, all things considered in the day and age that we live in. But I hate so many of the other books that are involved with it and the world and the things that are happening. And I'm just like, it just tarnishes. I'm not interested. And that's when I am, was like, okay, so all these books that I previously was buying, like I was a Justice League guy. Scott Snyder got me to like Justice League. And when he left, I was like, that's a bummer, but that's how comics work. And then they put on Venditti, and I was like, okay, well, if you're going to replace Scott Snyder with anyone, Robert Venditti would be my first pick, so let's stay with it. And then he was gone in 6 issues, and then they put Cy Spurrier or something on it, and I was like, okay, but he's not going to be the main guy. We'll see. And then eventually it was like, oh, we're putting Bendis on the book, the guy who ruined Superman for you. And I'm like, oh, great. So one of the main characters in Justice League that I'm interested in is being ruined by the guy who ruined Super. Like, it's just, I can't read these books, you know, because now I have to read Justice League with Naomi running around. And I hate Naomi. I can't tell you how much I hate Naomi. It's the stupidest character. I don't know why people like perfect Mary Sues that are just always the bestest, never have a problem. I don't get it. They're annoying as hell to me. They're boring to read. And yeah, so it's like I find it difficult to read continuity DC books because of that. Now, I'll still read books that DC publishes. I'm a huge Sean Murphy fan, so White Knight, I can't wait. More White Knight books. I might purchase some Dark Label books here and there, but then again, one of the things I talk about is like, I don't really like miniseries, so if you're going to do that, I'll just wait till the trade and just get the nice collected volume. Floppies, for me, exist for the purpose of reading on to eternity, you know, indefinitely. If it's just a finite, here's 5 or 6 issues, I don't see why keeping them in comic boxes and bags and boards is a very inefficient format. So yeah, I've talked long enough about that.
Yeah, you got really passionate there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see. LK says, what is Ash's thoughts on Kirby? This is okay. I'm gonna trigger some people. I don't like Jack Kirby's art. But
All right, bye y'all. I can't be affiliated with this guy anymore. I'm gonna see y'all later. No.
I don't think I'm alone. I think if I was
drag other people into
think
this.
if I got into comics, if I got into comics in 1960, I would probably love Jack Kirby's art. I think what Jack Kirby was doing at the time of his prime, he was one of the best in the business, and he's very influential. He's a legend. He would be on the Mount Rushmore of comics creators if I could make one. It's no disrespect to him, but it's kind of like, you know, I'm a movie fan, and there's, you know, a big movie that you guys have heard of called Citizen Kane. In movie buff circles, Citizen Kane is often considered one of the greatest movies ever made. And I challenge most people to watch it without getting bored out of their mind. And it's not because it wasn't a great movie. When Citizen Kane was made, it broke all the rules. It revolutionized cinema. When you watched it in that time frame, it was brilliant. The thing is so many people have taken those lessons and learned from them and stood on the shoulders of giants. So many people have learned from what Jack Kirby brought to the table and used it, and then added new things and improved upon it. And so that Jack Kirby, he lives on as a legend through all the creators that he's influenced that wouldn't be what they are without him. But that's what happens. People improve. They learn from generations before. And aesthetically, when I look at a Jack Kirby comic, it's not visually, you know, appealing to me. But it's not, like I said, it's not out of disrespect. It's just that artists have refined the medium.
Yeah. Personally, I'm more into like Kirby's Dream Land 2, where you got to ride the animals. That was a good one. if anyone remembers playing that game. But
we're talking about Jack Kirby.
See, I made Kirby in Smash Brothers, so that's what I was thinking.
No, jeez. But Ash, let me ask you, what, you know, Silver Age or even Bronze Age artist do you like them?
Bronze Age. A Silver Age, Bronze Age. Ooh, that's tough. Well, define the Bronze Age, because that's always one that's fluctuates.
Bronze Age is basically, I would say, you know, roughly in this conversation, anywhere from like about like 1972, 73 up to before the Image Revolution,
Oh, well, in
like
that
before
case,
Todd and like those guys.
the Bronze Age is like the golden age of art, in my opinion. Frank
Okay.
Miller is one of my favorite artists of all time, so
Sure.
he's there.
Mhm.
John Byrne is someone that I came to appreciate years later. I didn't appreciate him at the time as a kid because I was a kid and didn't know any better. But looking back, John Byrne is a big deal to me. Walt Simonson, a big artist for me. I was a big man. So many of the X-Men artists. Alan Davis, John Romita Jr. I liked in his prime. I was a big Rick Leonardi fan. I didn't think he got enough appreciation. Of course, Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee. I was never a big Todd McFarlane fan as much as like Todd McFarlane fans go. I liked his stuff. He drew some cool Spider-Man. I really liked how he drew the Hulk. But I'm trying to think who else. Oh, Art Adams is one of my favorite artists of all times. So
Sure.
Art Adams in the 80s was, I mean, he was doing things that nobody was doing. You saw an Art Adams cover and you were just like, I didn't know you could draw comics like this. It was like, what is going on? So yeah, I would say those. Silver Age wasn't a real big Silver Age guy, so it's difficult for me to point to any of those artists.
Have you read much Silver Age, or I'm just
Not
curious
much.
if this
I
is
have
a-
read
yeah.
here and there, but not enough so much that I'm like, oh, this is the artist. For Silver Age, it's usually like someone will say, this is a classic story you need to go back and read. And I'm reading it more because it was a classic that was recommended, not because I knew the creators and was like, oh yeah, this particular artist is, I was just based on recommendations. So yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I haven't read a bunch of Silver Age stuff either, but I do highly encourage you to like take a look at some more Kirby layouts, especially when he had a good inker, and just look at all the detail and some of the stuff that he put in some of like the Fantastic Four stuff and all of that. Like just look at the crazy detail that he put in there in the designs. Even like, of course, little flip-flop, but even like the New God stuff like that, but especially like the Marvel stuff, and then realize like he was banging out like a book a week.
Oh yeah, he was doing like 4 books or so a month, and if he had someone like Joe Sinnott like inking him, it was great. You could tell the difference on like the inks on like The Thing, for example, when it was like someone like Joe Sinnott inking him. Anything that Vince Colletta inked, he usually butchered
Yep.
Kirby, because he would end up like erasing lines, and this would be to get books out on time. There was a pragmatic reason. It wasn't just out of this idea of like, I need to destroy this art. But
even listen to that, like that's how great Kirby was. He was so damn great, and while being so damn efficient that like the inkers just couldn't keep up with his lines. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, he was really prolific, so he did so much work and the books were coming out so much. The inkers also really had tough jobs put on them. And here's the thing too. I mean, it's always tough talking about Kirby. I always feel like Jack Kirby is this untouchable monolith that no one's afraid to say anything, or sorry, a lot of people seem to be afraid to say anything not, gushing about the guy because he's this legend. And it's like, oh, how dare you? And it's like, yes, but there's a difference between recognizing what someone has done and their qualities and influences and respecting them. I respect Jack Kirby to no end, but art is a subjective thing. I would not want to see my comics today illustrated by Jack Kirby. I'm everly thankful for what he's brought, but he's just not my aesthetic choice to look at.
Cool. Here's the funny thing for me. But this is the funny thing. I started from the point that you feel now. I didn't get it. like I was like, why do people like these weird looking faces where the eyes are like oddly like spaced apart or kind of angled, and like I just did, and I was just like, why would I like I felt like how you feel now, and I'm not saying you'll change later, you could stay where you at it, like that don't matter to me. I'm just saying it wasn't like everybody talked about Kirby and I was like, oh yeah, you got to talk about good about Kirby. I was talking bad about him. I was like, I mean, I'm not really tripping off all that. Like, whatever. Like, it don't really look good to me. But the more that I saw, and it's funny, actually, I watched a documentary like a few years ago, and I think Jim Lee said the same thing. He was like, I first saw it and I was like, I don't get it. And then he was like, the more that I looked at it and the more that I looked into him and saw all of what he did, and not again just counting like the quantity, but literally the quality, like looking past just the a lot of the figures and the most popular images that he's done and more into the pages and the books and stuff like that, and even some of the less known stuff where he was more passionate about what he was doing and he put more into the art. Like that's what changed my view of it. I saw more of the quality that people were talking about. So I started where you were, off where you're at right now. I was like, yeah, he paid his dues, yeah, him and Stan Lee. But the more that I researched Kirby and the more that I sought after it with Bendis, I still buy Bendis books to this day. I just bought damn what the hell is it called, Fire or something like that. I'm trying to see what it is that people are seeing about this person. And with Bendis, unfortunately, I continue not to find it. But with Jack Kirby, I found it. It was there, the Kirby Crackle and all this other stuff in the machines that he drew and how he drew them and how, like, obviously they, they're fictional, but like it looks like they would really work, like all these crazy dials and the details and stuff they would put in, and then how he did make things so symmetrical and all that stuff. And like, and then like me being a Kubrick fan going over to film, like how Kubrick did all these symmetrical shots, I saw how Kirby would do it. And like I said, like in some things, like his like one panel, but like body parts would be like, it's like the fist is like getting ready to hit you, but the foot is like coming from 3 seconds ago. And he did like all these crazy like depth within the art that kind of broke what comics are supposed to be bound by, and the art in comics is supposed to be bound by. Like that is what got me to see the light, so to speak, or what people enjoy about Kirby to this day.
Oh, I agree.
And I found out how much more prolific, how he created a lot more stuff than he was getting credit for, especially characters with Stan Lee. And I was like, man, this guy is a comic, but like he was doing stuff way before Stan Lee, was even thought about as a figure in comics, and continued to be prolific, what I'm saying, on until he passed away. So he is a comic book machine. I call him King Kirby. I'm actually getting ready to start a Dream Punk like music project, and I think I'm about to go with Jack Curtis as my name, which was one of his moniker because my real name is Curtis, and that's one of the ones that one of the names that he used, as he was trying to break in and into the industry.
Huh. All right. Well, I didn't realize we'd be talking so much about Kirby,
the King.
The King.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, no, that, yeah.
Just gonna hit some of the chats here. A couple. Christopher Barker's in the chat. He says no Marvel or DC. Okay. King in Black, Venom, X-Men Legends are my last Marvel pull. Says Snatchface. Justin Carguth is in the chat. He says I love Kirby's X-Men. Not really sure why. I just have a lot of affection for them. That's interesting. The X-Men is one of the things that like originally turned me off. But then again, I came into X-Men at the middle of, I want to say, John Romita Jr., and then it was Rick Leonardi and then Silvestri right after, and going to Kirby, like it was weird seeing the old classic stuff. I like Kirby stuff when this is his original. I do find like his New Gods stuff pretty fascinating to look at. It's just tougher for me seeing some of the classic Marvel stuff, because like I said, I do think a lot of artists learned from the master. They studied Kirby, learned what he did, achieved it to some level, and then brought their own things that Kirby couldn't do. And one thing Kirby wasn't good at was his actual illustrations. Like he could illustrate, but not to the level of some of the more modern artists with their detailed anatomies, which are things that I'm really into. And again, I'm not trying to pick the guy's a legend. I'm not going to deny it. I have learned to respect his work more and more over the years as I've been exposed to it. But I'm not going to lie either. I'm not going to be, I feel, and I'm not accusing anyone of this, but I feel like there are a lot of people out there that just be like, Kirby's the best because that's the thing. That's the consensus. And I was like, we should be careful of that. We should be, I used to see this a lot in the movie community back when I was out of comics for a long time. I was big into the movie scene and stuff and called myself a movie buff. And probably that was me being too egotistical. But regardless to say, I would get into lots of discussions with movie buffs and arguments about movies like Citizen Kane or whatever, and Godfather, and just like there's certain movies that just would be like, are you guys even willing to think critically about these, or are they just the untouchable paragons, that you just put them on a pedestal and they're like they're the best? And it's like, well, they're not. That's why we improve, we learn. If we didn't, mediums wouldn't grow. Those are my opinions. I'm getting all passionate again.
Wow. What's it like to be so brave, Ash?
It's stunning, Joe.
Stunning. There you go. Stunning and brave. Ash on Comics. Two words to describe Ash on Comics. Brave.
I am so brave. You all wish. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. One day I'll be as stunning and as brave as Ash.
One day. I can only dream of being as brave as Ash is.
LK says one of the first books he got in Englandine auction was Captain America, solely because of the Kirby cover. I was almost tempted to buy a book in his auction recently because of what's that other artist that I'm drawing a blank? Steranko. He had a Steranko Shield book.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Steranko is an artist that I didn't really understand or know much about until recently, and I started doing some deep dives into his work just to kind of get myself up to speed. Watched some Comic Tropes videos. If you guys ever watch Comic Tropes, that guy is a fountain of historical knowledge.
Oh yeah.
And it's a good way for someone, if you don't know anything about something or very little about a comic book thing. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Look at you. You just breened us.
I know, he did. He pulled a breen. Look at that. Look at that.
Wow. Oh, I want that. Where'd you find that? That is hard to find.
You're damn right it is. You're damn right.
Wow, you just slapped that thing down. That's an expensive book. You just... Whoa. Damn.
I read my comics that I buy. That's why I don't slab them and all that stuff. I like to collect them, but they weren't bought to just put inside of plastic cases. And it's cool if people do, and I got one finally, but I want to interact with these things. What the hell are they if I can't take it out and flip through it and smell it?
Doesn't also mean you need to use it as a dog chew toy.
Not a dog chew toy. It's a slam toy.
I just slammed a $200 book on the table. Yeah. All right.
Jeez. I just can't help but think now, though. Ash, what are some of these movies that everyone else is too stupid to realize they like too much?
Oh, it's not that they like them too much. It was just that the immunity to critical thinking.
Sure.
It was this, you'd get into discussions about movies and you'd have like new movies and there'd be ton of discussion. You'd have arguments of like, some people would jump on the bandwagon. This is the greatest movie ever made. You're like, settle down. It just came out last week. And then some people be like, oh, it's just trash, and you get all the gamut on a new film because the jury is out still. But then you get movies like Citizen Kane, Casablanca, and it was just like, this is the best. It's a perfect 10 out of 10 film. End of discussion. If you critique it, you're a moron. And it was like, that was it. It was just this group think mentality between certain elitist movie fans. And it was just frustrating to see. And I was like, okay.
But like, other than Citizen Kane, or are there some other movies in that same vein that you feel are just like, I don't know what everyone's talking up Jaws for, like something like that?
Well, the thing is all these movies are legitimately good. The one that really always got me was Godfather. Back in the day,
Yeah.
so this was probably 15 years ago, I was really big on the IMDb message boards and talking lots of discussion about movies and things like that. And Godfather was one of those movies that was constantly just, this is the best movie ever made, The Godfather. Like, and it was just, no one would even think about it. Like, really, you think The Godfather is the best movie ever made? And I was like, I just don't buy this. It's a great movie, right? I'm not saying it's bad. I think it probably deserved Best Picture win. It's a very solid movie. Best film. What's the highest achievement in film in the medium ever? No, it's not. So, but you just got some people that are just unwilling to consider anything else. So,
yeah. So you've basically spent the past few decades roaming from fandom to fandom, telling everybody that
they're wrong.
They're all lemmings and they're all just followers. And
Yeah, where to next, Ash?
Ash is the reckoning. He's coming for all of it.
Manga is
He's
next.
coming to the craft beer community next.
Craft beer.
You said the craft beer community.
No, I mean, these are fandoms I was always in.
Yeah.
But because I had ducked out of comics, I had more time. And, I was an adult, making some money. So being able to buy movies and, get into that more, that was what I was most into at the time. Nowadays, I'm more into comics than I am movies. So I devote my energy to discussing the comics than I do movies.
Yeah. Pretty elitist of you to just throw around the fact that you've earned money and can afford movies, but
well, when you're a teenager,
check your privilege, Ash. Like, we all can't afford to drive around in a Mini Cooper. Okay?
Well,
wow, I can't afford to drive around a Mini Cooper either. Luckily, it's paid off because now I'm facing all. Geez, California charged me over $1,000. I think I spent $1,500 just for the privilege of driving in California for the next 2 years.
better get driving then.
Yeah.
Make get that. That's how it works, right? Then you do a lot of driving, and that makes up for the money you spent. That's,
I suppose.
That works.
California logic, baby. California logic.
Yeah.
Do you Californians go to the desert?
I mean, when we want to die, yeah. Or see the Joshua Tree, I guess.
Most of the state is a desert, so.
Yeah, but do you go there, or do you just stay in your city?
It's kind of like when you're already in. It's like asking a Coloradan, do you go to the mountains? Like, you're kind of there all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do people in California still reference that show, The OC?
No.
Like, that was here in California.
No.
Oh gosh,
The
I
OC?
forgot that show existed. I'm glad we don't reference it anymore.
Starring Jim Gordon.
Oh yeah, Jim Gordon. Oh, I
that's
forgot.
right.
I knew that guy had a familiar
McKenzie?
face.
Yeah.
You solved a mystery for me, Joe. I
That's
swear
what I'm
I was
here for.
watching Gotham and I'm like, God, this face is familiar and I don't know where it's from, but I know I've seen it before. OC.
I had such a difficult time watching Gotham because of that. Like, every time he'd show up, I'd just be thinking to myself, like, da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, California. Yeah, like, I can't do this.
Phantom Planet. I know that band.
The solution is not to have watched the OC.
I mean, yes,
Apparently,
that's
Joe.
that is the solution.
Joe didn't have
Probably
a
the
strong
worst part of California.
Didn't have a strong group of friends to give you an intervention back in the day.
Can I ask a new comic book question to the panel?
Yeah, let's get to our our list.
Has anybody
You can
read?
try.
Has anyone read or is interested in reading ENIAC from Bad Idea Comics.
Dude, I am so interested in reading ENIAC, except Bad Idea Comics is such a freaking bad idea that you can't get their comics.
That's why it's such a good idea. I love it.
Wow, you're just firing from the hip.
Highly recommend it. Very good book.
How do you
If you look
get
at
Bad Idea Comics?
Well, you go
there's
onto
this really
eBay.
great shop called like Third Eye, actually, and I get some cool variants there sometime. And they just had like second printings for cover price. Oh, you could order online.
I've been
How much
meaning,
is shipping?
Like $7.
So I could buy a book for $7 over cover price.
Yeah, but I'm gonna try and get the next issues, so I think it's a good idea because they have my business.
Any store will sell you a comic $7 over cover price if you ask.
That's my problem with Bad Idea is, look, I already have a trouble paying $3.99 for comics. If my store would sell those books, I would buy them because I do really like Dinesh Shamdasani.
But Ash, the whole point is you're supposed to ask your shop.
I did.
And nag them.
I asked them
and
last
buy.
May during the pandemic.
Why didn't they get it?
They emailed Bad Idea. They tried to reach out, Twittered them, and was like, couldn't get any information on how to sell the books.
Well, you guys just weren't on the list, you know?
My store is the largest
Why
comic
you
book
didn't
shop
make the
in
list?
San Diego, which
You
is
gotta look
the
inward.
7th largest city in the country.
You didn't make the cut.
Well, who did they make mad?
It's that face.
No, it's
the
just Bad
Facebook
Idea.
idea.
They only sell to 10% of the comic book stores.
Yeah.
So
That's how you get 90% of the buyers.
Well, that's great for the people that can get it. You know, it's like me. I get In-N-Out Burger, and I show it off on camera sometimes. And then there's people who live in the East Coast, and they're like, "Damn it, Ash! I really wish I could get an In-N-Out Burger." I'm like, "Sucks to be you. I can get them." Yeah. But I also remember what it was like to live in Colorado for 17 years when I couldn't get In-N-Out Burger, and I was like, "This fucking sucks." This is what Bad
Idea. That's life. Like, sometimes life sucks.
Sometimes don't people... you like it when like things are, you know, you can't just download a copy or buy one on Amazon, and like you found out about it from someone and you got to wait maybe even a year to get your hands on a copy?
I would love that if I could get the copy.
Well, you will in a year.
For me,
where will I get it?
Hand me down. You know, it's going to be one of those.
No one's going to hand me
things.
down because these things are going to be impossible to find. No one's going to be able to find these for cover price because they're going to be scarce as all get out. The demand, if they're successful, which hopefully they're good, they'll be successful.
They'll be third or first printing. You know?
It's gonna. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Valiant all over again in the 90s, when Valiant originally launched. You could not get their damn books unless you put them on a pull list and your store got them for you and you were one of the people that were the fans. But at least Valiant distributed to every comic book store. Bad Idea is even worse. They're like Valiant in the 90s, and they're like, we're only going to actually ship our books to 1 out of every 10 comic book stores. And we're not going to reprint the books, and we're not going to put them into trades, and we're not going to put them in digital. So if you don't get them, that sucks. I guess go to eBay and pay $50 from speculators for your copy because you missed an issue.
Yeah, or just don't get them. Like, but that's part of the thing. Like, it is a bad idea, but it is so bad it's a good idea and it's unique. I like the fact that they're making them more scarce. And hey, look, if I can't read ENIAC, that's not the last good comic that's going to come back that might be cool. Like, I'll just go read something else.
Well, that's what I'm doing. That's
exactly, and that's our alternative. If we can't get it on the first, or we can't get it on the second, or we can't, like, whatever. If we just can't get it, there's tons of comics that I want that I'll never get just because I can't. And it wasn't even the Bad Idea thing that made it that way. But that's the thing with physical media, is that it is scarce, and that's also part of what drives it up and gives it its value. That and what I like about it is we've forgotten that comics is supposed to be art. Especially in our community, it's funny. I hear people talking about whether they like the art or not, but I never hear people talking about the value of it. And these creators spend a lot of time making this stuff, blood, sweat, and tears, like going through a lot. And yes, it's their job and they picked it and all that other stuff. But I feel like we lose an appreciation for that. And someone like Bad Idea comes along and tries to kind of give that thing a shot in the arm and make that, like, you know, like a gallery piece that there's only one of one, you know, or even that excuse my language, but that crazy ridiculous painting that was like 2 colors that went for like $20 million or whatever at a gallery one day. But that is what gives it more value. It's scarcity. So if they're coming up with an idea that will kind of infuse that and bring that back into comics a little bit more for the creators, I really, really appreciate that. And I think it will, like, I think the fans will hopefully will understand that, and the buyers, and appreciate it. But if not, that's fine. There's plenty of other books out there.
Yeah, but the problem is you won't have fans if they never see the books.
Hey, and that's not an accident, is it? They didn't accidentally create this issue for themselves. This was very intentional. That's the thing. Like, this wasn't a mistake that they made. They an oversight, something that they overlooked. This is obviously planned. And hey, if they want to, live and die by their guns, well, then I'm going to let them live and die by their guns.
Well, I'm going to let them live and die by their guns either. But as a potential fan who was very excited, who fell into their marketing thing a year ago, hey, we're launching this new company and here's our books, and get all excited. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And then to find out, nope, you can't get the books. And you live, it's not like if I lived at like Podunk, Alaska, right? Or like I'm Wes and I live out in Philippines, I would understand. I'm like, man, my situation sucks. Like, I live in San Diego, California, the Mecca, where the biggest comic convention in the world comes. Like, the store that I shop isn't this little pop hole in the wall nonsense. It's the biggest store. They got locations all over the city, even one in Las Vegas. Like, they can't get the books. And I'm like, this is retarded. And I can't even get a second printing later to read them. I can't go, well, you know what? I missed out on the thing, but a year from now you'll release a trade, so at least I can read these stories from one of my favorite creators. Nope. It's like,
but see, Ash, I think that's part of it, though. You're talking about a big store that's probably doing a lot better than a lot of the smaller stores that don't have multiple locations and all that stuff. And if Bad Idea picks them as one of the place to get the books, then people that it kind of disperses it a little bit. People that might have only been going to the bigger ones that are doing much better than the smaller ones that are struggling to survive might go ahead and direct some of that traffic over there for that one book, and then it helps that shop out more.
Yeah, but even there's 2 other shops in San Diego that I go to that are small stores. Well, one of them's small. The other one's smaller. They don't get them either. The only place that I've found, there is a store in San Diego County. And when I say this, people who live in other parts of the world need to understand San Diego County is one of the biggest counties in the country. It's huge. It's over an hour drive to get to the store. So I'm like, okay, so I could drive over an hour to this store to get a comic book again, or I could mail order for it too. But I think it's silly. It's my same problem that I have with like the Kickstarter comics and stuff. It's like, oh, you want to charge me $25 for a comic book? Sure, you can do that. You are 100% in your rights to do it. But as a consumer, my opinion is not the same as the person selling the book. My opinion is about how to get the book and enjoy the book, and I don't like it. If it works out for Bad Idea, sure.
Right.
But I am disgruntled.
And it also
I don't
works
like
out.
it.
Right. And it also works out for the person that decided that $25 is worth it and agreed upon it and bought it, because that you have one opinion as a buyer and that person has one opinion as a buyer, and we all have our own separate ones. And sometimes we're on the same thing on certain things, and sometimes we're not. But for the people that feel like it's worth it, they did the deal.
Yeah, Skip, I'm on the side of thinking it's worth it. I'm so cynical of new comics, and so, a little bit fed up with it. I see something I think is going to be 10 out of 10, something could be in a gallery. I start to value it differently than your regular comic.
But it's not like Bad Idea is doing anything other than just making it really hard to get their books.
But the books are also really good.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean,
I gave you an I also hear books are really good by people from Vault and other publishers.
Plenty of good books out there.
It's not like,
but I gave you an example earlier about how if it directs traffic to a smaller store that's struggling, then that is a beneficial thing to the comic book community as a whole, because we get to keep another store alive, and they're trying to do that. Just like Robert Kirkman does his little deals that he did. Hey, I'm not going to tell anybody I released this book. Oh, it's issue number 17, and only gives it to a certain amount of shops.
Yeah,
I have an appreciation.
I don't think that's what they're doing. I don't think they're picking and choosing and being like, we're trying to help promote these little stores. from everything that I've been following on them, it's like, look, we are going to distribute these books ourselves. We're not going to go through Diamond, but because of that,
Right.
don't have the distribution center, so we're not going to bite more than we can chew and like offer our books to every
Right.
single store, because
Which is smart. That's
which
smart.
it was smart. And I figured you would at least start with the big stores, and guarantee you it's not, because Midtown Comics is getting them. Like, you can get them from the big dogs.
Sure, you can get them from some big stores.
It's
yeah.
not like they're going, oh, your store's the big one, Ash. We're trying to go to the little ones first. That's not the case.
Right. And they didn't do the flip side either. They didn't just say we're only going to put them in the big stores. They are picking and choosing.
What they're
picking some big stores and some little ones.
What they did was make the process to get their books so difficult that my store didn't want to jump through the hoops and was just like, oh, whatever, fuck it. You know, you're going to give us, we're going to sell 10 comics of yours and have to go through all this. It's not worth the work. Whereas,
well, then, I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, even if you look at it like that, it takes two to tango. I mean, you're stating that your store didn't want to do the deal, which anybody cannot want to do.
No,
the
they
deal.
wanted to. I talked to the manager at my location, and she went through some of the work to try to do it. But like I said, she didn't get a response. Now, my guess is she probably didn't go above and beyond that, like really put the nose to the grindstone to do it, because it was probably a big pain in the ass, and was like, well, you know what, I tried, whatever. Like, their attitude is, because there are so many independent publishers out there that just don't really sell much, Bad Idea is not a proven concept. It's like, hey, we're a new, they're like, well,
yeah, they're trying something.
We're whatever. Now, if Bad Idea shoots through the roof and becomes the top indie publisher, people are going to kick themselves and be like, wow, I wish I was selling Bad Idea comics. Of course. But I think it's that risk reward situation where you look at it and go, who are these guys? Bad Idea, okay, whatever. They want to make it hard to sell their books. Go ahead, But me as a fan, I care because I know who Dinesh Shamdasani is. I know who.
Yeah, and so do the people who buy the books.
Yes. Now, the person that orders the comic books from my store probably isn't one of those people. So they're just looking at it as a business. Like, okay, they sell comics. Okay. I had to go and inform them about what it was. Anyway, suffice it to say, it left me as a fan very disappointed because I wanted more. Like, I just wanted to be able to get the books. If I had to pre-order them, so be it. If I had to jump through some hoops, I was willing to do it. But seriously,
within reason, of course.
You can sign for a pull list on Midtown.
Yes, I can order mail. I don't want to pay $7 shipping to get a $4. It's one thing to go through a hoop. It's another thing to like pay exorbitant prices for your books. And I'm not going to do that. Like, if that's the way Bad Idea wants to do it, that's their choice. If I were Bad Idea and I was like, look, we can only go through 10% of the stores. Let's pick the top 10% to start to get the most distribution of our books out there, and then slowly start filtering out to more stores as we go and get that going. But whatever, it's frustrating. I want, because you're talking about, oh, does anyone read ENIAC? I can't go. I just have to be like, nope, I can't get it. I want it. But
doesn't that make you want it more?
Sure. I want a Ferrari too, but
doesn't that make you want it more?
Wouldn't mind.
What can we do? Then there is no pleasing you, as a gold member would say.
I want. So I don't know. It sucks, man, because we need more good comics. We need more good publishers. And I you know what? I liked their idea of no digital. I was like, yes, no trade paperbacks. Yes, I'll support those. And then they were like, no ability to get our comic books unless you pay exorbitant money online. And then I was like, no.
Well, I'm looking at their site now. They got shops all over California, so maybe they have beef with your city.
And I was kind of part joking when I said that, but at the same time, like, I've talked to multiple shop owners, especially, well, I won't say who it is and where, just to not put it on the record, but I know stuff like that happens, like relationships with between anybody within a part of the business can be strained, and yeah, people, you cross someone, or whatever, or they catch a little draft up their shorts or whatever, like yeah, things like that do happen. But I mean, overall, I am going to be really even out the gate, was really interested to see how all this is going to pan out for them. I especially in a place where we see the two biggest representations, the two juggernauts within the industry, playing things so safe and not taking what majority of us, at least amongst our group, feels like are good risks or interesting risks. I like to see someone take risks like this, and I'm interested in to see how it pans out. And yeah, of course, it does suck if you were the people that couldn't get it, and for the people that could, very well. But like I said, for me, I just didn't look at it any different from any other book that I like, that I go hunt for and I just can't find. And maybe it's a matter of time that I get it, and maybe not. But my thing is to piggyback off of something Ash said. I don't think that, I mean, like, yeah, we could always use more good books. I'll take more and more good books, but we have I'm going to say a good portion of good books that do come out. I think it's just more so directing people to those good books, because so many people are on the DC and Marvel teat, which if you're enjoying stuff over there, that's cool. There is some good stuff that comes out of there too. I don't want to act like they don't make any. I'm just annoyed with how they treat creators and some of the consistency and the quality of their books. But there's so many people that just go to those characters because they're so used to them and whatnot, that a lot of those creators that made those characters interesting to anybody in the first place, or more recently, funnel, kind of round the block and end up doing indie books where they're unchained and they're not bound by a certain editorial and stuff like that. And those books often get overlooked because they don't have those big marquee characters. So these days, I'm more so about, that's why I like stuff like this. I like the indie comic book show. Ash said the same thing, and I'm glad he came up with the idea for it, because we get to direct people to those stories. Because if people buy more of those and not always just jump and dive at the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff, then I think maybe we'll have a healthier industry, because the people that create the stuff that we consume will be healthier.
And I 100% agree. I think Bad Idea is going to put out some good stuff. And that's why it just makes it that much more frustrating not to be able to get it. And also, when I want to recommend books to people and go, hey, here's a book to get, I hate the idea of recommending a book that is this super scarce thing that you just, good luck trying to find this book, and you're not going to be, if you miss an issue, that's the thing too. Like, let's say you're collecting the series and it comes out, and you're sick one week, so you don't get to the comic book store or something, or I don't know, and you miss an issue. Now what? Like, the
pull list.
Yeah, not all stores do pull lists. Not all customers have pull lists. Some customers don't like doing pull lists for various reasons. I think
I run the same risk when indie books come out, and I don't get there in time.
I don't think making your books so hard to get is somehow a trade for quality. I don't think this is making their books any better. I don't see this helps consumers in any single way. What it does do is it helps speculators make sure their books are valuable, which is what Valiant did back in the original old days, which really did help for the company, because when people saw Valiant books shooting through the roof, people were like, I need to jump on this Valiant bandwagon and get these books because every issue is going up in value. But it caused a bust for Valiant. If anyone wants to also remember, we talk about Valiant imploded and then got bought by Acclaim and went into the shitter. And then it got so into the shitter, it was so bad that Dinesh Shamdasani was able to buy Valiant and bring it back and turn it into a good company, push good comics, and then brought it back to the success, and it was all good again, and then sold it all out to that Chinese company, and now he's starting a new company up. And I don't know, it just, I don't know how limiting your product to 10% is going to make you more money, make you more successful.
I mean, it's also a byproduct of them not trying to rely on distributors, which also there's that cost, in a sense, like they're kind of swerving it or kind of turning it on its ear a little bit. But it's funny, like that's part of the reason why I'm so interested in how this is going to turn out, because the guy that bought the company from the company that did the same thing but did it the wrong way, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, is he really like looking at it like, oh dang, I see what they did? And for a starting company, it is good to start like that because it drives people to want to grab your books more, ensuring that we do sell the books that we actually do print. So we sell out of those, we take that money, we continue, we forge it. And then when we get to the point that we can get all the books out there more, people are already more familiar with us and they are buying our books more regularly. So like basically doing what they did, but seeing where they made a wrong turn and correcting that mistake to have further success instead of having that failure, because he literally bought it from the company that did it the wrong way in the end, but not necessarily in the beginning.
Man, that's deep.
I think Nala was trying to talk and it's having some volume
I think Zach
problems.
was trying to talk too. Or I think that was
Maybe it
Zach.
Not me.
There.
There he is. Yeah. Say something, Zach. It sounded like what you said was interesting.
No, I didn't say anything. I was just listening to y'all. I don't really, I never got into Valiant, or Bad Idea. I'm still new to the independent comic books. Ever since I got into comics, it's mainly been Marvel, mainly been DC. So only within the past year or two, I've really been digging into the independents. There's the stuff that you see, Indiegogo and crowdfunding and everything. But then I've also been getting to there's some Image books, some Boom Studio, Dynamite. So just hearing all of this, talking about everything, it's just, it's not something I'm familiar with. And one thing I learned is if I'm not familiar with something, it's better to shut up and let other people talk about it. listen and learn from them.
Questions,
yeah.
which this forum is open to, especially we got someone like Joe here. Like, I mean, if we want to, I mean, like, I don't know if there's very many better people to have regarding a question like this than Joe. Not that he knows everything about it, but he is an independent comics creator right here amongst us. And I think just listening to us, waiting to jump in.
Well, I didn't want to team up on Ash there. It's not right.
And look at this. Okay, so not a single store in San Diego. I moved from Colorado, so I was like, I wonder what's in Colorado. Not a single store in the Denver area.
Can I get one and mail it to you, Ash?
Not a single one.
Trying to do that. I sent you dick pics earlier, and you didn't even bat an eye. Can I send you an ENIAC dick pic? Will that get a rise out of you?
You have friends. I have a Midtown Comics nearby.
Well, if I'm not willing to pay exorbitant shipping prices, I'm not going to expect friends to pay exorbitant shipping prices to send me books. So I don't know I don't know how to respond to that. That sounds very nice and generous.
Hey, I'll put it in snail mail, and if it gets beat up, then that's on you, buddy. But I'll pay the 2-cent shipping. Okay, I'll fold it in half and I'll stuff it in an envelope for you. All right.
2-cent shipping. I mean, someone hasn't used the USPS in a while.
Hell no. There's a reason for that. Although I do hope they stay afloat.
You on the blockchain, so it'll be fine.
So none of my issues with Bad Idea have anything to do with the content they're creating. My frustrations are actually the opposite. It looks like, oh, this looks like stuff I want, and I can't get it because it's ridiculous. It's like I guess it's like buying a Ferrari. I guess it's just, well, we made 250 of these, and you got to spend $500,000 to get one. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I won't be getting one. Some people will. That's good for them, I guess, and I guess good for Bad Idea. If Bad Idea is a successful company because of this, then good for them too. But I don't think this is good for comic fans as a whole. Right?
Gotcha.
Like I don't think Ferraris are good for your average everyday car buyer. For Ferrari fans, like rich,
and they're not good for comic book shops either. I mean, using cars as an example, no car dealership deals exclusively in Ferraris. I mean, there are some, but most
there are a lot.
No, there's
you You can't. Well, I mean, you can't just go. I mean, people just don't go buy Ferraris from little car dealerships down the street or whatever. You've got all, I don't know. Maybe I'm using the wrong.
Well,
kind
there's
of
not
analogy.
as many Ferrari dealers, like
Yeah,
as there are
there
like
it
Honda
is.
dealerships, right? Because they
Exactly.
sell way
There
more
it is.
cars. But no, like when
Yeah.
I was living in Colorado, for example, there was a Ferrari dealership, which was pretty cool. Like you could go, and I was never going to buy one, but it was neat that I could drive up by the parking lot and just see a lot of Ferraris, just like, but they're just few and far between because people who are buying a Ferrari, you may not even live in the same state. You just may mail order these cars. Like the way you get,
which is very common. Very common.
the way you get an exotic car is not like, oh, I'm gonna go down to the car dealership and look at one. Like you probably know what you want. You have a dealer. You might even have a broker who probably pre-ordered this car 2 years in advance so you can get on the list. In fact, many Ferraris, you can't even get the next model of Ferrari unless you bought the previous model. They're so limited. It's crazy. Like,
they make it a club.
Yeah, it's so nuts. But like I said, for that crowd, they're getting a product that they want and they're happy with. But if I'm talking to general car enthusiasts, most aren't in that, right? And so when we're talking to general comics enthusiasts, so it's like, oh, here's this elite club of comics that some people will have access to and hopefully very excited and happy with the books that they read. But I have to sit on the sidelines and go, I guess I don't get to participate. Wah, wah, sad face.
Right. But see, but that's the thing. Like, it's fun. I love that it's coming to this for a few reasons. One, we're talking about comics and comparing them to like elite luxury like vehicles. Like, why can't they be?
Well, they can.
Why not?
That's what I used to compare the Indiegogo market. Like if you bought Cyberfrog, you're giving EVS $50 for a comic book. Well, you can. Like, I don't want to do it, but there were some people who were happy to do it. And
right. And there's some millionaires and even like multimillionaires out there that can buy Ferraris, but don't want to because they don't want to pay the price tag. Or, I mean, on the flip side, as rare comics appreciate usually if there's interest, like luxury vehicles or even like at that tier luxury don't always appreciate. Sometimes they do depreciate. I'm big into Aston Martins, and I can tell you it's a lot easier to get some of those old Vantages and Volantes than some people may think. But the point is that's what I'm talking about, the value in that type of interest. And you can count in the speculators, sure, but what I'm saying, like for the art form alone, like these comparisons are like, like I'm getting excited about that. I'm like, yeah. And like saying with me, like, bro, I've wanted a Ferrari and an Aston Martin all my life. I've driven an Aston Martin. My ex-wife worked at a place where a broker had one. I got in cool. I used to go with them and hang out with them in the car club. Ferraris, Aston Martins, Lamborghinis, everybody out there chilling, got the cars opened up, and they let me drive Ferrari. They let me drive his DB9. Is what it is. But never did I ever look at that guy and like, oh man, I can't get one. Like, dang, I was like, that's dope. Like maybe one day I can get one. I aspire to be able to be in a position where I can get one of those. And until then, I'm gonna drive this damn Scion TC like it's a damn Ferrari. Okay, lead foot skip on the road. Look out ahead. Here I come. You know what I mean? But
good idea.
I guess the problem
I do want to hear Joe
is...
talk about it when we get to a point, because we've been talking about it for a long, and I want to hear what you say, Ash. But I do want to, because Joe started, and of course he threw in one of his cheeky Joe jokes. But I do want to hear what Joe has to say about this as an independent comic book creator.
Yeah, Joe, go for it.
No, sure. It's a difficult situation. I lean a little more in this instance towards where Ash is on the frustration element, because I would like to read these books, but the problem is when you make it that difficult to get, I'm not gonna bother, because I have so many things on my list. There are so many comics and books that I've been dying to read that I haven't read yet or picked up yet. So when you add that level of it being difficult, like it would be great if it was a shop that was close to me and I was getting it. I wouldn't have any complaints. But I think I think there are some problems baked in that you only get this like one chance in comics to really blow up, and when you have a lot of other companies like AWA really making moves and getting the big talent and getting the buzz, and then you have these, you know, something like Bad Idea where, you know, the books might be of a similar quality, even if they're a little better. If I can get one book and I can't get the other, I'm just going to stick with that, you know?
Right.
It's tough. I get what they're trying to do. It feels very Facebook, like mid 2000s.
Yes, good example.
It's very, you know, and it worked in that instance, and it feels like they're trying to replicate a model that might not fit today or fit in comic books. It is one of those things that I wouldn't be shocked if this ended up not working out, but it's very possible that Bad Idea is being funded between things like, you know, they may have gotten option money, they may have gotten stuff in the pipeline where the money's coming in so they can afford to do this and then do a national rollout in a couple of years, and it's no skin off their backs, and we're just whining. It's very possible. I just don't know if that's happening or not.
Well,
I'm
I
not
suspect
sure
Dinesh is probably riding off of his Valiant sale money, right? That is my suspicion.
Dinesh had a lot of money before Valiant.
There you go. So, right, you had to have money to buy it in the first place, right? And then sold it for the Sony movie rights stuff. So I'm sure he got good value on that, and has probably got FU money, and this is how I want to run a company, and I don't need to be raking money hand over, and more power to him. Like I said, when I look at it from Dinesh's perspective, I'm not like mad like he's doing something egregious, but from a comic fan's perspective, as the guy who wants to give you the money to get your product, I'm very frustrated that I'm not able to do this, and you're making it so difficult. And that's all that it really is. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And like I said, you built up this excitement in me for like a year that I'm now all deflated because I can't follow along. And there may be some people, and to Skip's point about, like, you know, when I don't sit there and I see someone driving a Ferrari and I'm like, I can't have one. Like, I get it. That's a rich man's thing. And if I want to get one, I need to be rich. And I'm okay not owning a Ferrari. I'm very happy driving a Mini, to be honest. In fact, my dream car would be another Mini. I want a Mini GP. But that's beside the point.
Point taken.
These aren't Ferraris. They're just, it's almost like if Honda was like, we're going to make these limited Civics. They're pretty much everything that a Civic is, but we're only going to make very, 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 very few of them and make them super hard to get.
They've done before.
And like, oh, why? Like, because we know some Civic fans are going to want this, and we're just going to make it so you, like, I'm like, that seems like a really bad idea, but
I mean, there's another element.
Dinesh is laughing somewhere.
Yeah,
there's another element to this where Bad Idea also has potentially some elements of TKO Studios here.
Yeah,
because the way TKO Studios model has been working is they don't have that same like monthly grind as other companies. There isn't that same level of I need to get this the second it gets out, and that same feeling of that book just rots on the shelf. Like, if I didn't read Batman this week, or, you know, this month and the next month or so, like, no one cares anymore. We've moved on to the next story arc, or we've moved on to the next thing. Like, they're not dealing in that. So they might be thinking, which maybe exactly what's happening here, similar to TKO Studios. I mean, TKO is still marketing, Sarah like it
Mhm.
came out yesterday.
Right.
So Bad Idea could potentially do a national rollout and do a marketing campaign for all their books that came out,
No, they
2 years
could.
prior to a national rollout, and it might work. I'm
They
not
could.
saying it will.
They could. However, they have publicly promised that they're
Mhm.
not going to. Now
Yeah.
they can go back on their promise,
Mhm.
but they've said no second printings, no trade paperbacks, no digital.
But Ash,
That's
they
gonna
said no
change.
second printing, but I own the not second printing.
Yeah, that's gonna change. I like
They
when they
could.
said that, I knew
I
that
don't
wasn't
have
gonna
the first printing. It says on the cover, not the first printing.
change. See, I knew it. Yeah, because they can't. They now there's some they can afford to say that, but they can't afford to do that. But I do, to Joe's point, the whole TKO thing. I do appreciate, a comic book publisher, operating a little more like a book publisher and a little less on that monthly grind wheel. I have an appreciation for that
Yeah.
notion.
And the thing is I can get Sarah. I did get Sarah. I bought it digitally. I missed out when it came out. I kind of now wish I didn't, because Sarah is really amazing. It's really good. I don't really like TKO's business model, so I skipped out on what they were doing. I picked it up digitally for a good price, and I'm happy that I got my money's worth. I'm very happy customer. But the
I'm
bad
more
idea
like
stuff,
I paid.
and like I said, unless they go back on their word, which it sounds like they, but that's another bad idea. When you make promises and you say, hey, we're not going to do this, sometimes people buy into that because of the promises. Oh, these comics are going to be worth money because they're not going to be reprinted. And then, oh, we're changing that, we're reprinting it. And you'd be like, you mother effers, you told me that's why I bought your books. Like then you start, you know what I'm saying? Like you run the risk of pissing off your fans. I mean, just look at the indie or the crowdfunding sphere. Every time a comic book is like, hey, get it, and then the comic book shows up in the store before the backers get it, and how pissed off the backers get because they're like, you betrayed us. And then you just now took customers who wanted to give you money, and now they hate you. Like
that's slightly different, and I don't like that idea. That is slightly different. But here's the thing. So the people are only buying the books because they heard it was a first printing. That does sound like speculators. That doesn't sound like comic book fans who's buying the book because they're interested in the story and the creators.
Yes, absolutely. They are marketing towards the speculators. The only reason why you would say we're not going to reprint or do trades or digital is because you're not trying to sell the creation. You're trying to sell the collectability of this book. It's going to be a limited, scarce thing that people who want it, it's going to make it have value. And that's the same thing that Valiant did back in the 90s. They made their books scarce and valuable, which turned around and was this perpetual motion machine that made people jump on the bandwagon and go, holy crap, Ninjak #6 is just shot up to $20. I can't miss out on the next, like I gotta jump in. And everyone started buying it, and Valiant books started selling like wildfire. I was there, I remember. It worked out really well. And I think that Bad Idea is borrowing some of those ideas, but also going a little too far, because you also have to be able to deliver the product to your customers. Like they have to be able to get them. If I go, well, these are going to be valuable, it doesn't matter to me if I can't literally find them anywhere.
Right. And I do care if customers like are disappointed in something. I don't give a damn if speculators are disappointed in something. They ain't, like, I don't want to speak for all of them, because some people that do that are comic book fans too, but for the most part, speculators ain't here for the love of the art form and keep it going. If comics really turns belly up and there ain't much money in it anymore or whatever, especially from that aspect, I'll still be here because I love the art form. Like the big two can go away. I love comics. I don't love DC and Marvel. I love comics and I love the creators. The speculators will be gone. They'll be like, "What? We picked the bones dry. It is what it is." So I don't really care if they're disappointed or not. But yeah, it is true. Like if the actual comic book fans are a little more disappointed, then yeah, that concerns me. I mean, and your frustration not being able to, get the books in one of them. Like it is important, it's relevant, but at the same time, I'm looking at it more down the middle than just on one side of the thing. But I do want to ask this, because we've been on this topic for a long time.
Yeah.
And you had asked us to have a list of things to go through, and I don't even know if we've made it through any of them except for the pick. So what say you?
What say we what? We move on? We can definitely move on. It was just rolling, so I was just taking it organically. And as we said in the back channel, the list was not necessarily of everything we have to cover, but more making sure that we had content to talk about. If we don't talk about everything, we can save it till next week. But yeah, we'd probably definitely beat this horse into the ground.
Yes.
So moving on. Thank you. What's the gosh, I'm all discombobulated. I gotta find where that list was.
While you're finding the list, I'm gonna open this up.
What's
I see Ed Brubaker.
Dude.
Got an Ed. Oh, criminal.
Keep coming.
I knew that would get Ash a little excited. 10th
I
anniversary.
like me some criminal. Do you read criminal, Joe?
I read some of Criminal. I have to go back and
Or
read
do you
more
read
of
any
it.
other Brubaker besides maybe?
I mean, I've read Brubaker. I've read what was it? I definitely read Cap and like some of the Marvel stuff before I went to Image. I've read some of the Image stuff earlier on. I'm behind on things, but yeah, I'm familiar with Brubaker.
His independent stuff, so far of what I've been exposed to, is even better than his big two stuff.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
and he's a very talented crime story teller. I do believe if you get a chance, if you haven't already read it, Pulp, the book that came out last year, is very, very good, and it connects to the comic book industry.
Ash's favorite book of the year for that year, right?
It was my number one book of the year, Pulp. Very, very good. Blew me away.
Awesome.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of what to segue into. Let's talk about Captain America. I think since we Brubaker did Captain America, and Joe's been reading some Captain America recently. This is a subject that he kind of brought to the table. What did you want to talk about, Captain America?
There's a lot. I mean, it's the 80th anniversary right now. We are living in it. It's, March 1941 was the premiere Captain America from Joe Simon and that guy you hate. And
that fucking Kirby guy.
So yeah, I mean that right off the bat. But there's also been news. Ta-Nehisi Coates' run is over in June. That's it.
Hallelujah. Sorry.
So
I don't know where that came from.
I guess that's his. I don't know. It's interesting, I guess, to just be like, yeah, you're done in June, and then we're doing Christopher Cantwell doing that United States of Captain America. That title makes no sense. That sounds like a title you come up with at like 3 a.m, and then you say, oh, tomorrow we'll come up with the actual title, and it never happens.
Working title.
Yes.
Oh no, did I freeze?
His Iron Man sucks. And it sucks a lot.
Moran is in the chat, I think.
Yeah. And
I actually I had a brief exchange on Twitter. He posted a preview of one of his Iron Man. I was picking up Iron Man for 5 or 6 issues.
You got banned.
I didn't get banned. He blocked me. Because I asked, I was like, "Hey, listen, this is Iron Man. He's been around forever. He's done all these great. He's done some bad things. He wasn't my favorite person in Civil War. He wasn't my favorite person, but he's done some good things. He's a hero. He's been around for a while. It's like, why is he kind of getting the shaft from everybody?" And I probably worded it differently than that. But
Oh, I see.
basically, yeah, I probably worded it not. It wasn't unpolite, but it was like, hey, why can't Tony be a hero? And yeah, the response was a block, and I was like, wow, okay, that's all right, that's okay. We're entitled to do that. But yeah, I didn't like his Iron Man.
No, it's awful, and it's a shame because it feels like we're getting it's very similar, I feel like, to Nick Spencer, where Nick Spencer got buzz, and then it turned out they greenlit a bunch of stuff for him based on that early buzz, but all this stuff sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like we're getting that again with Chris Cantwell. It's like, oh no, they must have greenlit the United States of Captain America thing like earlier on, like before even Iron Man 1 hit the shelves.
Yeah, like before they saw the sales numbers or something for Iron Man, or before the first issue came out, they were just like, hey, you're doing Iron Man. Iron Man's one of our biggest characters. You can handle him. You can take on Captain America special. Sure.
Yeah, because yeah, it's very not good, and it's a shame because I love Captain America, and I have no problem at all, obviously, with a storyline where you have, this like gay teen Cap in like a backup story, sure, but the fact that it is the 80th anniversary
Mm-hmm.
of Captain America, basically the oldest iconic Marvel character. I guess, yeah, like Submariner and the original Human Torch and the Angel and characters like that are earlier. But this is the oldest iconic, world-renowned, billion-dollar franchise character they have, and your 80th anniversary celebration is Cap lost his shield and he's got to drive around America to find it. Did someone come up with that in an afternoon? That just it's an insult. It's like, this is the 80th anniversary of this guy after he was just in one of the highest grossing films of all time. And that's the best you could come up with, is, oh, he's going to drive around and meet other people who are picking up the slack for him around the country. It's a horrible idea, and
It's terrible.
It is, and it's not even entirely a Captain America. Like you said, there's obviously they're going around meeting other people. The gay teenage, or I don't know how many other backstories or other side people that are inspired by him they're gonna have.
Mhm.
And that part I can almost get on board with, because it's
Sure.
showing it's people who are inspired by Captain America, right? And so that's a way that you can kind of share that story, how important Cap has been over 80 years. But then, like, the main book, the main story, it's not even entirely Captain America. Cap is only 1/4 of the main cast. He's sharing the spotlight with Bucky, with Falcon, and with the U.S. Agent. And I love all those characters. Those are all great characters, but none of it's not a Steve Rogers Captain America book at that point. It's whoever had the shield in the past 80 years book.
Let's be honest. This is what it is. This is not a celebration of Captain America, and especially not Steve Rogers. This is we having an excuse to shove in a bunch of characters that are about to be in a show that we're about to put out. U.S. Agent, Bucky, Winter Soldier.
But it's late by like 3-4 months.
Right.
It's that this needed to come out this month.
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't do that. Like, well, I mean, technically for something like this, you want the trade already out when the show's on, because the
Want it for the
audience you're
normies.
gonna the audience you're gonna get from people looking to buy this kind of stuff from watching a show is going to Amazon, not the comic shop.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So you
right.
want the trade.
And to Joe's point, and that's a really good point, I think, is people have been excited about the Captain or the the Bucky Winter Falcon and Bucky show, as I was talking to Skip behind the scenes about. People have been excited about this, right? And there's that anticipation period where you get notified, hey, this thing is coming out. Ooh, I'm very excited. And then the months and months of anticipation before you actually get to be, reach your satisfaction. In that period of time, that's when people are like, give me my fix. What else can I have? Give them the Captain America fix before, because they don't, once they're watching the Captain America or the Winter Soldier stuff, they're not in the need of the fix so much because they're getting it from Disney Plus. So I think, yeah, this should have come out months ago, and then release it in the trades to remind, like, as it's releasing, people like, remember that thing you liked. Anyways,
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly to that point, the Rick Remender Cap Omnibus is coming out in July. That's the omnibus that includes when Falcon became Captain America. Wouldn't you want this available for your show that's going to have Falcon potentially like carrying the torch of Captain America? The Brubaker omnibuses, like, at least one or two of them are out of print still. They're reprinting the Death of Captain America. That one might not be back in print yet, but the Captain America Lives has been out of print for years. It's very weird. Also, that Rick Remender omnibus isn't going to be out till the summer, but the Jack Kirby Cap Omnibus is reprinted for this month, but it has like the least to do with what we'll be seeing in the show. No offense to Jack Kirby. I know it's very thrilling for you, Ash, to have the Jack Kirby Cap Omnibus out.
I'm never gonna let this live this down.
Nope. I got a question once you're done with your statement, Joe, and it's something based off of something LK has said.
Yeah, and I'll quickly wrap up with a lot of other Cap stuff is out of print. The Bloodstone Hunt, that's a classic Cap story, is out of print. Justice is Served, which has I think some of the early Flag Smasher stuff out of print. There are multiple other like epic collections of Cap that deal with what's going to be happening in the show that are out of print. And if it's not out of print already, it's probably going to be after the show comes on, just like all the WandaVision stuff was out of print really fast and sold out at Amazon because they didn't properly anticipate sales. And it looks like they're on track to do that again for Falcon Winter Soldier. And go, Skip, you're up.
Tag me in. All right, let's go. Yeah. So I will give Marvel this excuse. The pandemic did mess up the order that the shows are supposed to be released in, but I can only give them that for the WandaVision stuff. I can't give them that for the Bucky and Falcon show, as I called it to Ash, because that was supposed to come out actually first. So that means this story would have been even more late if the Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out when it was supposed to. So I can't give them the credit for that. And LK, I want to shout, where was it at? LK, LK. I gotta move my mouse. Okay, where's my mouse? Oh no. Okay, well, I guess I can't go over to it, but LK was I'll kind of paraphrase, is basically saying this is par for the course with Marvel. They have a history of doing this, not releasing the books and whatnot in time for the show, or if they do, it's kind of a ham-fisted thing, like Civil War II, which like obviously just like wasn't a good story, and kind of history is told on that. And anybody that read it and liked it, that's cool. But I didn't like it, and most other people didn't. But I want to say this: where's Kevin Feige? Didn't he got put like in charge of all of Marvel as a whole? I mean, I know he can't. Like, it's impossible to have all these spinning plates and keep them all moving, but like it seems I can't even feel the touch that he's had on Marvel. And he was given that role like over a year ago. Like before the pandemic hit, it was announced that he was the head of all Marvel Entertainment, including Marvel Comics too. And it just doesn't feel like his touch is on Marvel Comics at all.
Mm-hmm. I remember hearing that Feige was put in charge at Marvel, and yeah, there's when you look at the MCU, and whatever opinions are on the MCU, whatever, but there is a sense of everything does mesh together and everything kind of goes together. And I think you're starting to see maybe a little bit of that. Like I know Donny Cates's King in Black, there's a whole lot of continuity and stuff in there, all within Donny Cates's own little bubble. But you don't really see that too much outside of maybe that and a couple other circumstances. It's all very scattered out of, it feels like. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Kevin Feige's hand is on it.
I got the impression always from the beginning when that announcement was made was never that Feige was going to come in and start, putting his fingers in the stew and do stuff. I always got the impression that it was essentially Feige didn't want to have to ask permission anymore. Right? Because the way Marvel was before, there was the head of Marvel Comics and you had the head of Marvel Studios. And like each one was like, you got to ask my permission to play in my playground. And then basically you went to Disney and it's like, look, I need to do these things or whatever. I'm tired of the bureaucracy. And Disney's like, we'll just make you the head of all things Marvel. You're the king of Marvel. And now everyone has to answer to you. And so when he does things, Marvel can't basically go, no. But he's just going to still let them run the way they were. But now he doesn't have to ask for permission on anything. That's how I do it.
I think that's close. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, he was running into that stuff, and especially it was affecting him because, like, obviously the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show and the Inhumans TV show, like certain things he was having to like go through a third party and or go through an extra roof, and they were saying yes to two different people, but they had already taken care of that like a few years ago where that stopped. And then it was like 2 years after that, a year and a half after that, that it was announced that he was the head of our Marvel Entertainment. So they put him in charge of the comics as well. So the comics before was something that never ever, like, Kevin Feige in the comics only were referenced when people were talking about the appreciation he has for the comics, and how like he'll take obviously story plot beats and different ideas and stuff like that, and then put the Easter eggs in there for us to kind of acknowledge, like, hey, yeah, hey, me and Jeff Johns, we got a similar thing. We both really, really like comics. We used to be roommates. We used to be best friends, and we both really, really like the comics. So we're going to put that stuff in there for you. But as far as it being one of his responsibilities, that was not expressly said until it was announced that he was head of Marvel, like all of Marvel Entertainment. And I do still think it's interesting. I haven't, and I think it'll be a market change, because the other thing is, it's with him being head of Marvel Comics. Have any of y'all seen, and I'm going to answer this question for myself. Hold on. No, his name ain't nowhere in here. Yeah, if he was really touching it, he would want credit, because you know how producers are. They get where they get because they get credit for the work that they did. His name ain't nowhere in here. CB Cebulski is as high as it goes, and he's above CB Cebulski, so he ain't touching nothing. And I don't know when he will, but I want him to.
Yeah, I don't imagine he ever will. But again, that's my suspicion. I could definitely be wrong on that, but all the things that were announced was that it made it sound to me very much more of like, what we did is just gave him the power, not necessarily the responsibility and the role and the job. It's just now, if Kevin Feige ever needs to do something over the Marvel Comics side, he doesn't have to like play politics with the head, and be like, ask permit. It's like, nope, I come in here, I supersede you, and Disney just made the official chain of command. And it's smart. I think honestly that needs to happen. And I think the
Well,
reason
see,
why
but-
the MCU is as successful as it is because they did that for the movie section and like let Kevin Feige just be the man there and not, you know, like Warner Brothers as an example is completely still stumbling over themselves all the time because they don't have one person that just says no. Like, I am the overlord. There's constantly like, oh, the people managing the Wonder Woman movies are arguing with the people with the Superman movies. And like, it's just this the Batman. Now we don't know if we're going to do a Batman because there's not any one person who can just be like, shut up, all of you. We're going to do
But
it
isn't
this
that
way.
one of the things that we constantly talk about? Like, especially when it was the all new, all different Marvel, like how they had the movies like going and they didn't have the comics lined up. I thought when they announced Kevin Feige, I didn't expect him to run Marvel Comics, but at the very least, I expected it to be like, I don't know, a monthly meeting or maybe a bi-weekly, even a 30-minute week meeting, maybe a check-in where he corrects that very simple issue that maybe would help out the comic book industry, because some of the things, not all, there's too many titles for it all to be connected. I think that's a little, excessive, but at least some of the very basic and obvious things being a little more tied into the movies, there being a little bit more continuity there. So that way, when the person does go see movie X and then they go into the comic book store and they want to buy that, it is that person and they have this similar personality to the person that they saw on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, what weren't we like all talking about that big time, like just 2 years ago? I know all different Marvel like finally went away, but there's still, the continuity still isn't where it really could be.
Well, I think they wanted to make sure that they weren't doing some of the crazy nonsense that they were doing at the time, right? Remember when it was like, hey, look, there's a Captain America movie. What's happening in the comics? Oh, Captain America's a Nazi. Oh, hey, look, there's a Thor movie. What's going on in the comics? Oh, actually, Jane Foster's Thor. Oh, like that was like completely just separate. But now they kind
Or
of.
hey, there's an Ant-Man movie. Where's it? Oh, where's Ant-Man in the comics? Where'd he go?
Well, there isn't any current Ant-Man comics right now.
Exactly. Well,
But there's
the
no
point.
Ant-Man movies right now either. So my point, what I'm trying to get to, is that Marvel is on a bit of a, not a hiatus, but a pause, right? There's really not, we're not rolling full steam in whatever phase 4 is going to be. So we're not noticing a big clash per se. So perhaps what Feige was wanting to do is actually happening. We're just not noticing it yet because there isn't rollout. I mean, a lot of them, all the movies have been held up. We still don't even have a Black Widow movie.
Black Widow.
You know, like,
I was about to say to that effect. I will say in their defense, I am reading Kelly Thompson's Black Widow run. That's one of the few ongoings that I'm picking up. And actually, I think from what we've seen of the commercials or trailers for Black Widow, it would tie into this actually fairly well. So in their defense, they do have Black Widow going for them on that train, where if you go see, if it ever comes out and people do ever get to see Black Widow, if they go to the comic book shop and they pick up Kelly Thompson's trade or floppies or whatever, it's going to be, it'll transition.
right. I mean, they
fairly.
did do a task. They're in the middle of a Taskmaster book, which is part of the Black Widow thing. And I would imagine whatever's going to happen with Doctor Strange, we'll probably start to see, not necessarily tie in the comic books, but the Doctor Strange comics will be more on par, so that they don't feel different. I think that's one of the big goals, is just not to be like, wait, why are the comics so different than the movies?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And again, you're talking about like CB Cebulski's, or it's not CB Cebulski, but Kevin Feige's goal. Hey, it might be, I mean, since the pandemic hit, it might be like, let them fall on their face a little bit, and then when the final next shift, when they need that extra pick me up, is when Feige will put on his cape and come in there and then save Marvel Comics too, and then we can say, oh wow, look at Feige, so inspirational. Marvel was falling over its own feet, and he even helped them too. Wow, what a guy!
That would be amazing. I don't expect that's gonna, but that would be interesting.
Yeah,
Hey, speaking
jump
of
off, but
what's that?
thanks for having me.
Oh, you got to take
I have
off?
to jump off, but
All
thanks again
right,
for having
man.
me.
Thanks for
And-
jumping on, hanging out with us. It was good times.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I
Have
think
a
this is
good
a good
night,
Good night, my friend.
Yeah, take care.
Speaking of comic companies not falling in line with their movies, DC is not immune either. I found this very interesting. So they got the new Justice League, right? Bendis is taking over Justice League. Yeah, everyone's excited about it, right? But what else is coming out the same month? Would it be the Snyder Cut? It would be. And is DC Comics, did they forget about the Snyder Cut? No, they didn't, because they've got Snyder Cut variant covers for the Bendis Justice League. The weird thing is,
I saw those variants today.
The weird thing is, the Bendis Justice League is exactly what we were talking about with what Marvel was doing back in the day when Bendis was working at Marvel and making comics that were nothing like the movies. And you go to see the movie and you'd be like, this is great. Then you'd go get the comic book and be like, what the F is this? And so now you've got people who are not everyone's a fan of the Snyder Cut. Am I right, Skip?
You're absolutely. Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, not everyone's a fan of Snyder EU or DC movies. Am I right, Skip?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't stand the Snyderverse.
However, we know that there are fans. The Snyder Cut hashtag was a very big online movement. It got Warner Brothers' attention. This is a a milestone of thing that's happened. They gave him $70 million to finish his movie. It's a 4-hour epic.
Yeah, buddy.
Like, what people who are into this are into it. I would argue that the people who are into this are probably also the same ones who are pissed off that Bendis is radically changing the Justice League. Like, I just feel like this is a great example of being off the same page of what you're doing in the one medium versus the other, and how to not exploit this for success. Like, one hand working against the other. What do you guys think?
Ash?
Well, go ahead, Skip.
Oh, please, pretty please. I'm so sorry, Zach. Or Rich.
Go for it,
because someone else took your name. So Richard.
Richard, that's right. That's right. I'm steal his name.
I remember. Look, you pointed out something. Ash, sometimes I love the way your brain works. You pointed out something here, and I'm going to go way too deep about this. But at the same time, if you watch some of Brian Michael Bendis' interviews, maybe you might agree with this. I'm not sure. And Joe, I'm not going to call on you. I don't know if you know him. I'm not going to start that beef. But it's well documented. He really, really, really wanted to be writing the movies. And he was in the writers group. And then, some things happened. And then, he was a little Bendis-y. And then he wasn't in the writers group anymore. That helped with the movies. And then he did what he was the lead architect of All New, All Different at the time. He was the number one guy at that time. It was Axel Alonso, and it was him. And Bendis thought when Alonso was out the way, he was going to get that spot, and it didn't happen, and he left. He changed everything, and he was, and I'm almost like, was Bendis so spiteful that he helped create the thing that just completely like, oh, you don't want me in the movies? Well, I'm going to change the comics so they don't line up. And then, things happen. And then it's interesting that he goes to DC and he does the same damn thing when one of their big movies comes out. Zach, I'm tagging you in.
Okay. No, what I was going to say was, because obviously we look at the Snyder Cut, we look at the way, this movie, even back in 2017 when the film was supposed to, when it originally came out and Joss Whedon tagged in and ruined the whole thing. Back then, of course, the team looked very different in the comic books. They were still kind of in the New 52 Rebirth era. Cyborg was still on the team. So I don't know, if at least some part of this is, when this movie was supposed to come out, the team did look more like it did in the comics than what we have with Bendis's new run that started today. So I don't know if that should be kind of seen as like a little disclaimer or just like a little side note in there. But yeah, that's all I was gonna say is, when the movie was originally, because this movie, if events hadn't happened, I'm sure in an alternate somewhere out there. Zack Snyder was able to stay with Warner Brothers. He was able to put out his vision of the movie as he originally intended, at the time that was supposed to come out, and there was this no big kerfuffle, release the Snyder Cut 4 years later, blah 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 blah. But things being what they were, here we are. So that's all I was gonna say. But
Ed Brewer says Arthur's looking more like Momoa now, it seems. Well, Ed, just to be clear, those are the Snyder Cut covers, which is supposed to, the art is reminiscent. It's supposed to evoke the movies, which Aquaman apparently, well, I guess he still is in the thing. But if you see him on this cover, he's got the blonde hair.
Yeah, he's even had art on like the old Peter David books, the Peter David run. He looked like he had the long blonde hair. He had the harpoon on his hand.
No, but like I was talking about, I had previously had an image up. If you see this,
oh, okay.
Well, not this one though. It literally, it was a Jim Lee, Snyder Cut. This one.
Oh, I need to open
where
up
it's
the
like
YouTube.
That's the Momoa Aquaman.
Okay.
It's,
gotcha.
But this is just one of those things, and you know what? I'm never hesitant to bag on Bendis, but it's not just a Bendis thing. They did the same thing right after Aquaman movie came out. They pulled Dan Abnett off of his I don't know if it's critically acclaimed, but very much fan approved Aquaman run. Everyone had really good things to say about the Aquaman. They put Kelly Sue DeConnick on it, and then she just changed it all up, and I was like, how did you just did what everyone thought was impossible, was make an Aquaman movie that everyone liked. I mean, I would argue there's quite a bit of people that think Aquaman is the best DC movie.
I know, proof we're living in the Twilight Zone. Aquaman is like this super popular hero, and the Green Lantern is when you look at the movies.
And then instead of riding that wave, you go, oh, let's change it all. Like, what? It's like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? But
yeah,
it just seems to be this thing that the comic publishers like just. It's like they don't want to make money. That's what it seems to me. Joe, do you have any insight? You actually have some actual professional insight in the business. Do comic book publishers just not want to make money?
A lot of it is just a lack of communication between departments. That is honestly a lot of where I think some of this stuff happens, but people also just get very weird ideas and they run with them. What was it? I did that interview on Purchase Channel with Bill Loebs, and he goes into some of this stuff too, of like people just get weird ideas in their head, like covers with the color orange don't sell. Like, and that's not true or based on anything, but that's something that some editors at DC started to just go with in like the 90s, like just weird stuff like that. So yeah, some people get ideas, and the fact that they have that idea is more important to them than if it's actually going to sell, if that makes sense. But another issue too, especially with Aquaman, is this might be a hot take, but there is absolutely no fucking reason to have a monthly Aquaman book.
Oh, shots fired.
People do not care enough about that character. This is a character that before Crisis, they murdered his fucking kid and his wife, and still nobody cared.
Is part of that though on the publisher? Because we're talking about 80th anniversary books and so forth, and it seems like DC Comics can't resist giving everyone an 80th anniversary book. I mean, even Robin got an 80th anniversary. Joker got his own 80th anniversary book.
And
except Hawkman didn't. And it's almost like the publisher's like, we don't want people to like Hawkman, because then we'd have to make Hawkman books. And so maybe if we forget about the character, everyone else will too. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I have really no, but it just seems weird to be on the consumer side of the fence and go, you had a really, obviously not a popular in terms of sales, but as far as customer appreciation, Hawkman was a very well received series. The people that were buying it and reading it were like, we love this book. Now, was that translating it onto people who weren't buying the book and didn't know any better? No. Like, they were just like, oh, that's interesting. You guys like that book? Okay, cool. I'll keep reading whatever I'm reading. Like, and that wasn't building sales, which is what we're talking about. But maybe that's because the publisher wasn't capitalizing on it. Maybe the reason why Dan Abnett's Aquaman book, which was still more successful than Kelly Sue's Takeover, didn't meet the higher numbers that it could have, is because DC just let it languish. Because everyone I know that was reading Aquaman at the time was like, this is amazing. It's like, he's like, Dan Abnett's like taken Aquaman and he's like turned it into like Game of Thrones underwater. Like, it's all this world building and all this stuff going on. It's like awesome. And I was like, really, now it made me want to read it. And then I was about to jump on and add it to my pull list. And then I got the previews and said Kelly Sue DeConnick takes over on issue 43 or whatever issue it was. And I was like, okay, never mind. And I never added it to my pull list because of that. And again, that goes back to me going, scratching my head going, does DC want my money? Because as soon as I find out it's successful and I'm going to try to get on the bandwagon, they find a reason to make me jump off. Now, I don't think they were honestly thinking like, we don't want Ash, but,
Yeah, it's... Here's one of the things that's kind of even more depressing. When you talk about the lack of the 80th anniversary Hawkman stuff, I guarantee you it wasn't a slight at Hawkman. They just didn't know it was his 80th anniversary.
Which kind of is a slight against Hawkman.
No, it's a slight, but it's like it's not
accidental
with any malice. It's just like, oh, it is? Oh,
it's not cool. Like they were beating the redheaded stepchild on purpose. They just forgot he was part of the family and forgot to feed him.
Yeah. It's like Home Alone, where they didn't recognize their son for a minute there and just went to France anyway. It's like that, it's like there is no one who's like, cackling in the back offices being like, little do those fools know that I hid the 80th anniversary of Hawkman, so they couldn't make that anniversary. And this is true with what was it? I don't know if anyone here watches like a Near Mint Condition with Uncanny Omar. It's a cool channel, especially if you like collected editions.
I have watched. Oh
yeah,
and I'm so glad that you brought that up. I was quick little tangent. I was telling Zach that I had forgotten my topic, and now you just reminded me of it. So continue.
Awesome. Yeah, he has more of a direct line to David Gabriel at Marvel. But like if you read between the lines, it's very clear that David doesn't know like what's in print or what isn't. And sometimes doesn't even know things they've published before. Like there was this bit where they were talking about Inferno.
I did see that. Yeah, that was wow. That was pretty awkward.
Yeah, there was this bit. It was with the Inferno prologue. They did a big hardcover, and they're reprinting it as an omnibus. But David apparently was like, "Oh, we never like printed a book like that." And then Omar was like, "No, you did. Here's the book." And he was like, "Oh, that, yeah." It's just like, you don't even know the books you're printing. And it's like, look, I get it. It's a big job. And you know what? I don't know every book that they've done a collected edition or not. That's also not literally my day job to know that stuff. But I get it. It's a lot of stuff to have to know. But this is how these things like fall through the cracks. And sometimes people just keep pumping out books because they think they need to, but at the same time, like with Aquaman, for example, Aquaman's the kind of character, if you don't have a good Aquaman story, don't just put out Aquaman comics just because you feel like you should. It's okay. Just shove them in the Justice League for a little while, and then when you come up with a good story, then tell your story.
You know,
Yeah, you
Don't
make
force
like a
it.
good miniseries type deal.
Yeah, don't force it if it's not there, you know? But like there's too often it feels like there's certain characters where it's like, oh well, you have to put a book out with this character, and it's like, but you don't have any ideas. Well, but you gotta. It's like, no.
I'm a bit of a more old school guy than in the sense that I believe that if you have a character that's proven that it can sell,
Sure.
that it's proven to be a big part of your main continuity, your universe, that you should have sort of an evergreen ongoing book. You don't
Sure.
need 5 of them per se, or however many Spider-Mans are going on currently, who knows. But Aquaman has a book. It doesn't always sell great,
Sure.
but he's like what Iron Man I guess still is in the comic books. Like Iron Man is in the comics. Like he's just a mainstay Marvel character that everyone knows. Doesn't always sell tons of books, but had an opportunity to get a lot more popular when he had a successful movie, just like Aquaman. Like that's when I'd be pushing Aquaman. Like, dude, like this,
Sure.
because I didn't know squat about Aquaman. I was like, that's the guy who talks to fishes. But then I saw the movie and I was like, hey, he's a lot cooler than I thought he would be. And now I'm more open to exploring the books because of that. And then they threw a wall in front of me. And I don't know. I think you're right. It's like you don't have ideas. What the whole point of you being a professional like publishing company is that you hire people to have ideas.
Yes.
You shouldn't be running out of ideas. You should be having people whose job it is to constantly be coming up with ideas. Now, is every arc going to be some Eisner Award winning, storyline that's talked about for decades to come? No, but they weren't in the 80s either. I mean,
Yeah.
your goal is just to sell books and then hope that you can also put really good quality content in there that sells even more books down the road. But yes, some characters don't need books. Like this is why I still do criticize Marvel all the time for like, why are you releasing a Morbius book? Like that's not a guy who has, like you released a U.S. agent book. If you're not doing Captain America right, put the brakes on any sort of spin-offs. Get the main character right.
Yeah, right.
Like your big books, if you're Marvel, it's like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, X-Men, Spider-Man, Avengers. There's probably a couple more. Those books should be priority number 1, solid, perennial sellers. That should be, and then once those are that cogs and all those machines, everything's going together nice and smooth. Then you're like, okay, let's expand. Let's make some other stuff that people are into. Same thing with DC, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash. These are your big, I'm sure I missed a couple books, but you know what I'm saying? And you're like, well, we want to tell, some obscure character that they want to throw in. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but you know what I'm saying? Like they do that. You're like, why are you doing this? If you can't sell Aquaman, who just made $1 billion, but you want to launch this
Blue Beetle
yeah.
or Booster Gold.
Yeah, something like that. Or when they did like Wonder Twins, for example, or Dial H for Hero. Like really, you're gonna not do you're gonna do Dial H for Hero. What are you? Does someone like someone over there is making a lot more money than me to make really terrible decisions. Like And I just sometimes I just scratch my head, and I know it's not the easiest job in the world to just, it's not like a whisk your wand and boom, I'm selling millions of books, but some fundamental decision making just seems unfathomable. Like I can't figure out what's going on over there.
Yeah, it's I mean, we're also dealing with another point of contention for me was they somehow managed to have a Doom Patrol ongoing series before the live action show started, and then to not have a single floppy come out during the first season. Then they got back on track and started doing floppies after the first season, to then stop having floppies during the entirety of the second season.
Oh my goodness.
Do you see what I'm saying? Now, as a person who's not in the business proper, it to me, I go, you got to be trying to do this. It's like there's no Swamp Thing comics. Then you make a special Swamp Thing show available on DC Universe Access or whatever that thing was, to which gets rave reviews, and people are like, this is the best show. Yes, but we're canceling it because we counted the money wrong. Oh, that's great. Now we're going to make Swamp Thing comics that we didn't have, and we didn't make them until a year after it was canceled. So now we have Swamp Thing comics again. And you're like, okay, what? No one asked for Swamp Thing comics. It just happened you made a good TV show that was well received that you pulled the plug on, and you don't want to do that. But now you want to bring back this character that no one was asking for? So you can cancel the characters that they were liking? I don't... Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, segue number 2. Snyder Cut. Since it's right here. This was on Zach's topic. Zach, what did you want to talk about the Snyder Cut?
Man, I know there are people, even maybe here in the stream, that aren't, but Snyder fans or fans of what his vision was for the DCEU. And I'm not saying that his vision didn't have flaws or anything. I've seen Man of Steel and Batman v Superman multiple times. And yeah, they're not perfect movies. You can, every movie, I think that there's a flaw or there's something that you can find it. But I'm really jazzed for this. I don't know that I'm going to be able to stay up. It comes out at 3:00 in the morning, my time. So I don't know if I'm going to stay up because it's 4 hours of content. So I'd be going to bed at 7 in the morning. But I am going to watch this tomorrow for sure. And I think, really what it is, even if you're not a big fan of Zack Snyder and what his vision is and what he did with Superman or Batman or The Flash, look, I'm not a huge Ezra Miller fan, but I'm still going to see it because, I want to see what Zack Snyder, he doesn't seem like he picks people that he thinks are going to do bad in their role. So I want to see what he had envisioned his story, because and everyone knows, when he was making this movie, he originally, I think he had like a 5-film arc. Like it started with Man of Steel, went into Batman versus Superman, then he had like a 3-part Justice League, and that was supposed to be his overarching story. Of course, he had family tragedy. He went off the film. Warner Brothers was like, well, we got to put out a film because we still want to get paid. So they got Joss Whedon, who I think broke things off with Disney after Avengers 2. And, which I guess Warner Brothers was like, hey, we want to do something to compete with Avengers. Well, let's get the director for the Avengers. So Joss Whedon comes in, reshoots the film. I think uses only a small fraction of what he's already shot. And, it was a lackluster, kind of a mediocre film. I saw it a handful of times. It's not terrible, but it's not good. Anyway, long story round, I'm taking the scenic route
I
Long
never do
story.
that.
I know you should have a stream just called The Scenic Route with Ash on Comics. But anyway, I just see this overall, even if you're not a Snyder fan, it's still a big win for fans, for fans of movies like this, because it's 4 years that his fans or fans of the DCEU, they were saying, hey, we want to see what Zack Snyder had planned. They raised money for charities. They flew a plane with a banner over a Comic-Con. They did all this stuff. Hashtags were for years. And Warner Brothers, for whatever reason, and I think a lot of it has to do with them trying to get eyes on their streaming service. But for whatever reason, they thought, okay, well, we'll do it. We'll give Zack Snyder $70 million. He can finish his vision. And it's what the fans wanted to see, and so it's a big win for fans. Even if you're not a fan of Zack Snyder, I think it's a big win for fans, just because it's I don't know, it's difficult for me to kind of put into words, I guess, but I'm really hyped for it. I'm excited for it. I like a lot of what he did, honestly, with the DCEU while he was in there. His Man of Steel. I really like Man of Steel. I think Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman. Not a huge fan of his Clark Kent. I don't think he's a great Clark Kent, but his Superman is fantastic. I like where he was going and what he was doing with Ben Affleck, and of course Gal Gadot and Aquaman, and what he was doing with those characters, the input he had on Wonder Woman, and I think he might have had some input on Aquaman. I know he did with Suicide Squad. They were meant to kind of mesh together, but yeah, no, I'm super excited for it, and yeah, we'll see how it is. I'm kind of nervous. I was talking to somebody in there. What if it sucks? Like, why would you do that? Are you like the person that saw the trailer for Phantom Menace and thought, what if it sucks? Like, no, just like live in the, if it sucks, deal with that bridge when you come to it. Don't go into it fearful about it or anything. But
sometimes
anyway.
you just want to be prepared emotionally.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people were so overly hyped, for example, Phantom Menace, that they didn't know how to deal with it when it didn't live up to that expectation,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And definitely you've got, I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, there's always, if you hype it up that much, yeah, I mean, nothing's going to ever live up to your expectations 100%. I mean, even some of my favorite films, I hyped up so much in my brain, they don't live up 100% to those expectations. But I think, there's Zack Snyder films that I love, like 300. There's Zack Snyder films that I don't love, like Sucker Punch.
Don't you say it. Oh, you're dead to me.
What?
You're dead.
You like Sucker Punch?
Oh, I love Sucker Punch.
I like about 25 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
The parts where they're in the fantasy world, fighting the monsters and the dinosaurs and whatever. The cool scenes, the steampunky scenes. Yeah, the rest of it, I don't know. I might need to go back and watch it. It's been a while.
I'm gonna have a watch party. Like
Yeah.
I have the director's cut we can watch.
Ooh.
I've never seen the director's cut. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe Zack Snyder's films.
It is true.
The director's cuts.
It's true that every director's cut version of Zack Snyder's film improves his films.
If you watch, because the theatrical version of Batman v Superman, it's good. It starts out, it's a little long, I think, for the first half. It's too drawn out. But then you watch like the Ultimate Edition, the director's cut or whatever, and I think it improves the film,
It does
a lot.
I've never seen Justice League. I see the DC films. Well, I mean, I see the non-Zack Snyder ones too, but I don't know. I like Zack Snyder. I'm an unabashed Zack Snyder fan. Man of Steel, I have a love-hate relationship with, because I think the first half of that film was brilliant, and then it just went off the rails when Pa Kent dies, and I don't hate the film, but I just go, I roll my eyes, and it's one of the most drawn out fight scenes in movie history. Batman versus Superman is fun on many levels to just watch if you can turn your brain off. But there's so many like storyline problems with it and how it works, and Skip and I and Jimmy had a Discord discussion about the film where we kind of tore it apart. But I'm able to love his films even when I don't think that they're good, because it's very much like a comic book that has great art.
Exactly.
And it's like, the story kind of sucked. You know, like, it kind of reminds me back in the days of Old Image, right? You get like, oh, hey, it's Spawn issue #1. And you were just like blown away, like reading it, but not because you were reading it. You know what I'm saying? You were like, yeah, there wasn't really much of a, and in my case, like Wildcats, I'm an unabashed Wildcats fan. And it was pure eye candy, and it had just enough story for me to be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, and I just love it. And I watched movies, his Zack Snyder's movies, his DC movies like that. I'm just like, it's gonna be lame here and there, but I'll be damned if some of those visuals, man, like the Batman sequences in BVS, are fantastic.
The whole Doomsday fight scene at the end makes it covers the cost of admission.
Yeah.
He's very cinema. I mean, all of his, even Sucker Punch, which I don't remember that much of, but the scene, I mean, it's very it's got a great cinematography. It is very much like you said. It's like reading a comic. And a lot of his films that I've seen are like that. 300's like that. Sin City's like that. It's all very much like watching a comic book. And I don't know. Maybe that's why they got him for DC. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to this. I don't know if if Warner Brothers, maybe this is a little turning point. They're like, well, maybe if enough people see it, they'll give him a Justice League 2 or 3. I don't know. I personally, I'm not holding my breath waiting for that, but if it happens, I'll be really thrilled, because I would like to see his entire vision, what he had planned from the start. I would like to see that play out. But
I'm gonna be honest. I'm excited because I heard it's over 4 hours long.
Heck yeah,
and I'm just like, you're gonna. So many people. This is one of the frustrating things with me. Is like, it's not frustrating. I don't. A lot of people I hear, like, oh, that movie is too long. I don't want to see it. And I'm like, really? Because if something is really amazing, don't you just not want it to end? I mean, don't we live in the world of like Game of Thrones where people would be binging whole seasons, like? And I'm not talking about the end. I know people were upset. I mean, everyone, I think, at some point loved Game of Thrones. And at that point, when you loved it, did you just wish that it was only an hour and a half and then over? Like, we live in the world of binging TV, right? Like WandaVision and any other shows, even if it's not Game of Thrones, it's something that you like. These shows. I can sit through. Well, I did sit through. I binged the entire Boys season 2, like I think in 2 sittings. So that was like 4 hours each sitting, and you get enthralled in it. And I'm just looking forward to an epic that I expect a Justice League movie should be epic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that it's at least as good as his other 2 DCU movies. I hope it's not the worst of it. And I'm looking forward to epic fight scenes with Darkseid and things like that. I want to see the visuals that Zack Snyder pulls off on screen.
Mm-hmm. Bring up a point, comparison like what you were saying with Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings is the best versions, the only versions that anybody should care about, I think, with Lord of the Rings are the extended ones, the ones that go 3.5, however many hours long. And when they were making the Lord of the Rings movies, Peter Jackson, the original theatrical cut is still 2.5. It's still pretty lengthy by today's standards for a movie, but they still let him do it. They put it in theaters, and they continue. The other, the Two Towers and Return, the 2 other movies that followed, he also made long, and audiences didn't have a problem with it. The movie studio certainly didn't have a problem with it, because it was making them millions and millions of dollars. And then they make the extended editions that are even longer, and people were buying those up. So I don't think there's people out there that are saying, oh, 3 hours is too long of a movie. I don't know if that's something that the executives think, if they have like this. I heard somebody say this. It's like a restaurant manager mentality where, okay, people come in, they get a table, they get their meal, they get out. I don't know if that's a mentality that Warner Brothers executives or just movie executives in general have.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
people,
for sure. In the world of cinema,
yeah,
you want your movie theater show run times to be smaller because the theaters want the so they can churn out more showings. So the
yeah,
theaters
yeah,
want that.
right.
And I get all that. I'm just talking about the individual. When I see someone go, yeah, I was thinking about seeing that movie, but then I saw it was like over 2.5 hours long, and I was like, I don't want to. I can't sit down for a movie that I was like, I just
Yeah,
roll my
yeah, I
eyes and
think
I'm like,
that.
really? Like,
Yeah,
if the movie sucks, I get it. You don't want to sit through trudgery. I get it. But then at that point, why are you going to the movies anyway? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, first though, this is a real fuck you to Ralph Bashki. Like, come on.
Okay.
N-
I'm not familiar with
none of you watched the Ralph Bashki or Bashki, sorry, Lord of the Rings from the 70s.
Oh,
That
the
movie.
I
animated
was trying
movie.
to draw the correlation. I was
Oh,
like, he did.
sorry, Ralph. Sorry.
It's all right. And then
Well, to be fair,
second,
Ralph Bashki did do a better Hobbit movie.
he did.
I like the Peter Jackson Hobbit. That's a topic. We can go back to that later.
That's another.
Yeah, but why do you hate Ezra Miller so much?
Not that I hate Ezra Miller. It's not a hating Ezra Miller thing. It's just that, and maybe this is something the Snyder Cut will change my mind on. But seeing how he was portrayed in the Joss Whedon version, he just didn't come across as Barry Allen. Maybe it's because I had sunk a whole bunch of time at that point. I was really into the Flash television show, and so I had these notions of how he was portrayed on the show. He wasn't like this super nervous, geeky. I mean, he was geeky, but not to the
Sure.
extent, I guess, that Ezra Miller was in the movie, where he was like nervously talking all the time to fill up dead space, and he was, it's just, I don't know, the way he portrayed Barry Allen was differently, and like I said, maybe I was just used to seeing Barry Allen from the TV show, and personally, I mean, I wasn't even really into Barry Allen already. Wally West was the first Flash that I knew. That's who I grew up, watching
Hey,
Justice League and everything. So Wally
I'm
West
with
was
you.
the one I was going for.
Justin in the chat says, I love that when Joe jumps in, it's usually, why do you hate?
Yeah, y'all ain't learned yet. You gotta stop taking
right.
Joe's bait.
But the
I love it.
The issue I
Why
have
do you hate
though.
Jack Kirby, Ash?
See, I love. That's why that's why I love streams when Joe's in it.
I know.
Because everybody takes Joe's bait every time, and I'm just like, y'all ain't learned yet. Y'all ain't like. I don't know if it's because he's still kind of new around all of us, but y'all ain't learned yet. And I just sit there with my popcorn and my Pepsi, and I'm like, Joe got him again.
It's great because it's good you mentioned that, because the punchline I was going for with bringing up Ezra Miller is I was going to say, like, you got to give it to Ezra Miller, though. Like, it takes guts to just, like, choke a stranger,
It does, on camera.
It does.
On camera.
Choke
like,
slam him.
Yeah.
To just choking a woman you don't know on camera. Just how do you? That's like, I'll never know what that's like, because I'm not a monster.
I'll never be as stunning and brave as Ezra Miller is.
I gotta say,
video.
So my impressions of Ezra Miller were like when they announced the original Justice League, and I'm like, I think what Zach was talking about earlier, like, I don't look to hate things, like, right? So when something comes out, I do genuinely want to be enthusiastic about it, and I think oftentimes when I am salty, it's just because they did something to make it so I couldn't be that way. And so when Justice League came out, I knew that Man of Steel had problems. I knew that Batman versus Superman had even more problems. And then I knew this was going to be a problem because Zack Snyder had to walk off set due to his, personal issues. His daughter committed suicide, and he had to leave. And then Joss Whedon had to, and I knew there was going to be a bunch of issues and all, whatever. I knew the film was going to be a train wreck and have problems, but I still was like, I want to see good things. Like, I do want to see Justice League on film, and I want it to be fun. When I saw The Flash, and I didn't know who the heck Ezra Miller was, I just saw this young-looking kid with black hair, and I was like, well, that's weird. Flash has black hair. And he just didn't, and I don't know much about The Flash. I'm kind of a Flash novice, and even I was like, this doesn't seem like Flash to me at all, but okay. I mean, okay. And then all the drama came about, you know, the Josh Whedon cut and people being pissed off because it was whatever complaints they had. And so whatever case it may be, I just lost my enthusiasm for the film. I ended up never seeing it. Fast forward to the Snyder cut, I got kind of excited because I am a Snyder fan. Actually, before that happening, I saw Ezra Miller doing off-screen antics, like in his personal life, like choke slamming a woman on the ground, and of course just the various interviews that he's been in and stuff. And I'm like, this guy is a major asshole. Like, he's like legitimately does not come across to me as a good person, and he seems to almost go out of his way to make you hate him. Like, he's like, or to not be likable, I should say. And it really did put a sour taste in my mouth when the Snyder cut thing started coming around. And I was just jumping on it because I thought it was a fun idea that a fan movement could actually make a Snyder cut happen. I'm like, that's
Right.
whether
Yeah.
you are a Snyder fan or not, like, it's kind of cool that this happened. Like,
Yeah, right.
you
Like,
know?
if enough fans raise a voice and like say, "Hey, we want this," it's really cool to see a studio actually turn around and give fans something they're being vocal about and asking for.
Right. It just,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And then I just, you know, and I'm hearing that the Flash is actually cooler in this cut, so I'm hoping that's the case. I haven't seen anything, but I'm
Yeah.
finding myself having problems going into this film, being open to even liking the Flash, because Ezra Miller has done so much outside of the movie to just come across like a despicable person that I'm like, it's going to be tough watching this and kind of latching onto the character, because all I know this person is Ezra Miller. I've never seen the Flash like this, you know. It's going to be tough. So,
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
that's part of where
You
you
saw
just have
BVS. He was in BVS.
was he?
for like 2 seconds on a computer screen.
So okay, so you all right. So I guess that would
Oh.
be technical.
But also, like, if someone showed you the full cast of Justice League, and let's be honest now, and you didn't know about all the antics Ezra did, and someone was like, which one of these people choked a woman, you would have probably been like, I imagine maybe Jason Momoa or Ben Affleck.
Yes, Ben Affleck
For
would be
sure.
my first pick.
Absolutely.
Mine too.
See, I would have
You
guessed
know?
Gal Gadot.
And then,
Whoa.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair.
That's very fair.
Very
But once you
non-sexist
say-
of you, Zach, unlike the rest of us.
She was in the IDF. She
Yeah, real
was in the
talk.
military
Yeah.
forces.
No,
You
it's
snap
it's
somebody's
true.
neck. Hey, she can snap my neck anytime. That's all I gotta
and,
Whoa.
say.
and I will
And
say
then-
please and thank you.
Yep.
But then after you say Ben Affleck, you know, they would probably say, all right, the other guy who choked a strange woman.
Ezra Miller
Hey,
would have been like the last, right? Would have been like, okay, it wasn't Ben. Okay, it was Jason. No, not Jason. Okay, the guy that played Cyborg. No, not him. No, come on, you're not going to say it was Henry Cavill. Okay, no, good. It wasn't Henry Cavill. Great. Okay, wait, Gal or Gal Gadot? That can't be Gal Gadot. No. Oh, you mean the Flash? That dude?
his hands work?
What?
Come on.
His hands work.
He touched a woman? He's never touched a woman.
And don't forget though that Ezra Miller is queer, and DC, for whatever reason, didn't run a headline, first queer actor to play the Flash that choked a woman.
No, they didn't.
which is hilarious. I
This
was
is
gonna
breaking new ground.
I was gonna point this out when we were talking about Captain America earlier, but we just moved on because that Variety article mentions that this is the first LGBTQ character to carry the shield. And I was like, are we just getting like that delineation of like, it's one thing to be like, you're the first LGBTQ comic book character. Okay. Now it's like, you're the first LGBTQ comic book character to be created on a Wednesday that wore boots, but didn't have a cape in their costume. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like they get these delineations,
like
so there always
the
can be a
ESPN
first.
Yeah, like the ESPN stats. Like the first player under 21 to not have his shoes tied while making a 3-point play on a game that was that was on a nighttime game. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like every LGBTQ character, like actor or character or whatever, it's always the first at something.
Right.
And you're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
because maybe he's not the first to choke slam a woman. Maybe they couldn't run that.
Maybe we're not being told there was another queer actor that choke slammed a woman. Now we have
that
to go
also
find out who
played
it was.
the Flash, which is very damning news about John Wesley Shipp.
That's what I was saying. I was like, so what's up with John Wesley Shipp then? What are you not telling me, DC? All the lies and the deception.
I'll never be able to look at Jay Garrick on the Flash.
Fucking Ezra Miller's talking to like his publicist the next day, and he's like, "I got some bad news. You're only the second queer man to play the Flash that choke slammed a woman."
And then you see a disappointed face. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
John Wesley Shipp screwed me again.
Hey kid, we can't all be trailblazers.
Oh man, that I knew there was a reason we had Joe on the stream.
Too good. Too
all
good.
right, well, we need to start wrapping. This is a long stream, and
Yes.
I just lost track of time because I was having so much fun.
Yay!
We had some other topics that I think is smart to just maybe carry them on to the next one and not do a marathon because people don't want to sit down for 4 hours apparently, as we just talked about. Well, we should go around the table and give everyone some final words, I guess, so you can say whatever's on your mind. If there's any comics you want to mention, to shout them out and get people to maybe be aware, or something you're liking, whatever the case may be. And we'll just go around a circle. And since Joe's on fire, we'll start with you, Joe.
Hey, comics are good. Read comics. Definitely one of the big Captain America storylines, which it's the 80th anniversary. Please read Captain America comics, or the Captain America No More, where he becomes the captain, and Super Patriot John Walker becomes Captain America. There's an epic collection of that I think is being printed and is out now.
Is that the Nomad one?
The Nomad one is the Steve Englehart run. This is from Grunwald. This is when he's in like the black costume.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So this is like the second switch off of that, but it's really good stuff. I just reread it, and it's a great time. Love that kind of Captain America stuff, and also if you want to read my stuff, you can still pre-order Beckstar from Mad Cave Studios. So look into that too.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, for the record, I have not heard any stories about John Wesley Shipp choke slamming anyone.
This is all purely hypothetical. As far as there's a little disclaimer at the end credits. All the events and things brought up are purely fictitious, and any similarity to real persons is purely coincidental.
Yeah, despite the fact that he's apparently been in a show called Drop Dead Diva, I'm pretty sure he hasn't done anything like that.
Nice. All right, Zach, do you have any last words or whatever's on your mind?
In case John Wesley Shipp ever comes across the stream, so sorry, and I will still support you and watch you as the Flash. If you still end up going on Stargirl season 2 after these rumors leak. No, but just live life, stay safe, smile at somebody, read comics. There's some great comics out. Some of the Marvel miniseries right now are really good. Personally, I recommend the Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon that Larry Hama, I believe, is writing. Really solid story. The artwork is great. And yeah, I hope next week to be here if Ash continues to let me on. And I hope next week to be singing the praises of Zack Snyder's Justice Cut, saying it was everything I wanted and more. But other than that, yeah, y'all be good.
All right, and my friend Skip.
Yeah, hey there. I thought we were going to talk about more video games, but I get it between Bad Idea and the Snyder Cut, which it's very interesting how I didn't get to talk about that. That's a whole nother topic. I'll take that up with Wes and Fatal J and Jimmy. No. It's fine.
I didn't think you wanted to. I'm sorry. My bad.
Wow.
I failed again.
Oh. It's all right. And you also gave me another woot when I sent you another comic pick.
He did
in the live stream.
He did. He sent me another comdic pick. And
it was some Wildcats. He talks about Wildcats. I took a picture and I put it in the Thinking Critical Comics Hall and thing, and he's like, "Oh, Wildcats, it's eye candy." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna get him this time." And I send him a little Slick Willie Wildcats Jim Lee style, and I just get another woot. I'm just like, you know what? Why do I even try anymore?
To be fair, it was Brett Booth. Can't even remember his Wildcats correctly.
Hold on, wait. I thought that was Jim Lee that did the cover and Brett Booth did the interiors. Yeah, well, that was Brett Booth on the cover too?
That might be the case. I better shut my
mouth. I don't know. That looks like it would be Jim Lee. I'm looking at it right here.
Brett Booth is a Jim Lee kind of clone.
Yeah. Kinda. That is true. Point taken.
It's hard to
I
tell
just wanted to It is honestly hard to tell. And I might buy it, and I don't know, maybe that will be another comic book that I buy that we don't give away here on the stream. But that's a whole nother topic for another stream.
If you like Wildcats, I will be shocked.
If I like Wildcats?
Yeah, I would be blown away.
Why would you be? I was going to share this 8-bit arcade style stick controller because we're potentially going to talk about some gaming stuff. Why would you be shocked if I liked Wildcats?
It just doesn't seem your style. Like, you don't love everything.
Who does?
Right. Like, Wildcats is very simplistic, and you're a very sophisticated man.
I like Firepower.
Firepower has a sophistication in it, though. I mean, it's a comic book written by Jim Lee and his buddy Brandon Choi. Like,
I like Spawn. Like the early stuff.
All right. Hey, you may like it. I love it. I'm not saying like you like I love Wildcats. I would love that you also love it. You and I don't love all the same things, and it makes me sad. So if you did like this, then we could be Wildcats bros, and that'll be awesome.
Maybe we are Wildcats bros, and you just didn't know it.
Maybe I don't. Maybe you have to send me some more pics. Wait, we're getting off topic.
Maybe. All right, I ain't got nothing to share. Come check me out. I'm gonna stream sometime this week, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Twitch.tv/Skip and Tosh for y'all who haven't made the journey over there. I read comics on stream, and I open up stuff on stream, and I play video games on stream, and we can talk about stuff on stream. And one of these days, I'm actually gonna get Ash to come over to my stream and spend the night Skip style.
I would love to.
And well, you're cordially invited. And before I go, I hope all of y'all keep taking Joe's bait because I'm just eating it up. Okay. Skip out.
I'm having a good time too.
He's a master fisherman. I am learning quite a bit. Well, and you're a master fisher. That's different, Skip.
Because that's my last name.
Ah.
Yeah. I'll be here all week. Not really. Good
Wait,
night.
that was my pun you stole my glory on. What was I gonna say? There's not really any like cool new comics for me to promote, which kind of makes me sad. There is a lot of good comics out there, but they don't always come out every week. I was scrolling when everyone was talking so you guys could see what came out in case you haven't went at the store. The only thing on my pull list was Thor. Apparently Nightwing sounds halfway okay.
It is the first issue of his run. The first issues are always kind of hard to get a whole feeling for.
So I was
I feel.
gifted Iron Fist issue number 1 by my boy Sergeant Bats. I haven't read it yet because I was fearful that it wasn't going to be good. But now that I've got a second recommendation, I'm like, I should get this, and I will be reading it. And I promise to do a video, so I'm going to get that out quickly, so you guys can get on the lookout for that. And I will give you the honest review. You guys always know I am not afraid to be salty. It may not always be pleasant, but you know, I'm like Mikey on the Life commercial, you know, and when I like something, it's because it's actually good. No, I'm not shilling for anybody. So I'm going to say, continue to read good comics. I wish I had more to recommend to you. Oh, I did finish the entirety of Jupiter's Legacy. And I'm not going to go into a big detail here, but suffice it to say, read it in order of publication order, not the new renumbering order. Don't know what Mark Millar was thinking. That series really spoke to me. It actually made me choke up and shed a few tears at a couple parts. That's Mark Millar's best work in my opinion. I have not read everything he's done. I am super stoked about the show. You guys that are here in the chats, thank you so much for being here. I will try to do better getting more into the chats as far as, you know, making involved. We were reading stuff. We just got so involved in the conversations and things like that. We ran over our own schedules. You guys that are co-hosts with me, Skip, Zach, Joe, Nalo, wherever you are, thank you for joining me. You guys are always welcome to participate on the stream on Wednesdays. I have a great time talking to you, as witnessed by us running over. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Have a great evening as always, and we'll see you next week.